Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing this fine Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time? Dear Artifact in the house, good to see you, sir. Always good to see you. How is everyone? How is the weather in Canada? On the screen, I went kind of traditional old school breakfast today. Just some sunny side up eggs, bacon, a little bit of sausage, it's actually a little bit of leftover cheesy potato casserole I had made. So I threw that in there with it, and some whole wheat toast from the Market District, my favorite place to get bread locally. I don't have like a good bakery near me, but the Market District has very, very good. The artifact says it is very, very, very snowy, Mark. It's a frozen wasteland here. Major blizzard. Oh, sorry to hear that. It kind of warmed up here over the weekend again. We've had weird weather this year. A couple inches of snow total, and it just yesterday was back to the 40s. No describing it. Ryan James. Ryan, how are you, sir? Ryan, you're the Ryan who got the new watches, right? Do I? Yeah, I didn't watch all of Tim's show. I was busy running around doing stuff. But was that you who unboxed watches yesterday? His eggs look immaculate. The immaculate eggs, yes. His eggs were good. Cool. Congrats, man. Congrats. Those are great. Welcome to the hobby. Um, it's addictive. It's addictive, but there are worse things. Is Our good friend George Varghese says you could be wasting that money on gambling and hookers or drugs and hookers, whatever it is he said. He says it's funny, but yeah, that's it's cool to get new stuff. So, what do you think of that? I love that Seamaster, that ceramic. I always thought that was a good looking watch. Anybody have anything for breakfast today? Yes, Dear Artifact says congrats on the black and the no date, Ryan. Very nice watches, both. Very, yeah. Great pieces. Great starter pieces. That's a heck of a way to start a collection. Rufus says it's rainy and 67 here in Southwest Florida. Dun dun dun. I'll take 67 with a little bit of rain. It's been weird. The weather has been weird here in Pittsburgh, but what are you gonna do? I'm wearing my Evil Hero. Show you big here. Wearing an Evil Knievel t-shirt today. Woohoo! Who doesn't love Evil Knievel? Who doesn't love people jumping stuff? Dear Artifact, the All-Star game is not in the festivities and stuff. I don't enjoy it as much as when they actually kind of took it seriously as a game. That goes for all the All-Star events. But Rufus's Punxsutawney Phil says it's going to be a short winter. Yes. Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, probably about an hour from here. Normally he comes out and they say, "Oh, I saw a shadow," but this year they said early spring. Ryan James, thanks guys. I'm enjoying them both. The S&P isn't the most legible thing in the world, but I'm a big fan of the black on black look. Yeah. So legibility, yeah, it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So obviously my latest pickup is this carbon fiber now, but in low light with the gray on gray on gray is a little difficult to read if it's not loomed. So I get it there, but that black on black, it's so stealthy. Such a good watch. Yeah, see, I agree. Yeah, we're 100% there. Dear Artifact says I agree, Mark. It's embarrassing to see them mail it in. It is because it's just It used to be at least a competitive game. Maybe they weren't crushing each other with the hits, but they were playing and trying. And now the 3-on-3, it's so gimmicky. It's so gimmicky. It just it's not it doesn't even look like hockey, you know. Uh Speaking of someone with a rooting sports interest, George Varghese is in the house. George, congrats on making the Super Bowl for your 49ers. You get you must be dying. So the 2 weeks between the Super Bowl, hopefully you get everybody healthy. Hopefully you get Shanahan's such a good game planner. I am rooting for the Niners. In this, I think just because I'd like to see Shanahan get a Super Bowl. I'd like to see Brock Purdy make up for a couple bad games he's had, but for the last overall draft pick, Mr. Irrelevant last year, wow, seems to understand his place in the offense. Your artifact says Mark makes a great point, Ryan. As you get deeper into this hobby, make sure you buy what you like, not what others like. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of that. It's one of the cool things is when you see stuff that that someone likes and loves, it's better. You feel better about it, for them. There are people that buy stuff that even when they're unboxing it, and they're buying that more to try and impress other people, whether it be I'm going to buy a watch of this brand so that so and so will like me more because it's his favorite brand, or whether it's I'm going to buy this super hype watch. I like to see, and it's not that there isn't a play, and if the hype watch is what you love and what you really want, that's great. But if it's not, get what you want, get what you like, you know. You have to wear it and look at it more than anyone else. 99% of the public isn't even going to notice that you have a watch on because people just don't look at them anymore. I look all the time. I don't care if I see someone wearing a Michael Kors Fasten watch, I'm happy just because it's not an Apple Watch, or a Fitbit. Those things drive me insane. I know they have their place. And when I had my heart surgery, I was wearing my Apple Watch all the time because some of the stuff it did. But overall, I want something that I like. I want to have the watches I like. You know, I'm debating on a couple, next watches now. Obviously, because that's just the way this hobby works. Never satisfied, never enough. There's always something else that you would like to have. But Rose says, yes, certainly buy what you like, but there's also a reason there are icons. The person who says Rolex is overrated is fooling no one but themselves. Oh, no, I don't think Rolex is overrated. I like Rolex. I just don't own one right now. I've owned 3. My reason, the reasons for liking Rolex and not liking Rolex are sometimes the same. A lot of the watches look very similar. Um, and so it's hard to differentiate them, but they do an amazing job with their watches. I'm a big fan of their fit and finish, their bracelets, some of their I would like to see. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. The artifact says, plus when you buy a non-Rolex, you get to chase AOC out of the room, and that's always fun. All jokes, the community is typically very supportive. It's great that everyone has different tastes. Yeah, you know. But running people out of the room is good. Ryan James says absolutely agree. And good morning, George Varghese. I'm sorry to say, but I'm a lifelong Chiefs fan. So go Chiefs, go! Ooh, Battle Super Bowl is on. Good to see BW in the house. Rose, always good to see Rose. it's interesting when you get into and sometimes you think I'm rooting for someone else just because these guys been winning a lot. I don't know. It's hard to say. Patrick Mahomes is an amazing quarterback. Their defense really stepped up this year in ways that they hadn't in the past. Kind of carried the team, the Chiefs, a little bit this year. Shanahan, amazing play caller, game plan designer, but has shown some shortcomings in the past. With coming from behind, which they did last week. The meltdown in the Super Bowl against the Pats a few years ago. They've had their struggles. Mark, what is that right behind the eggs in the image? Are those deep fried mashed potatoes? I had actually made a cheesy potato casserole, so that was actually some of the leftovers from that. So instead of making like home fries and stuff like I normally do, I cut some time and reheated some cheesy potato casserole in there. But it was delicious with the bacon, with the sausage, with the eggs, with the whole wheat toast. It's breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day, they say. I don't know. Do they still say that? I'm old. I'm not sure I remember. These guys, they change the food rules all the time. What's good for you, what's bad, when you should eat, when you shouldn't. There's just so much. Drop the link for anybody who wants to join the panel. Orko, good morning, sir. He says breakfast looks great. Thank you. We love a good breakfast. I did real fancy breakfast last week, so this week I just wanted to go with something a little bit more traditional, kind of old school. And so we went with the bacon eggs. I had some sausage links, which I don't do the links. They're okay. It's not that they taste any different. I just for some reason prefer the patties. But yeah. But the toast was amazing. That whole wheat bread I got was at the Market District was amazing. So the Market District is it's a Giant Eagle supermarket, but it's like a Whole Foods especially when it first opened, was like a Whole Foods on steroids. It's a huge place, is for a supermarket. First off, and when it first opened, they just really did it all. They've cut back on like some of their international section, some of their food stations, and such, but it's still a great place to go and get ingredients. But they have a great bakery, and their bread is one of my favorites. So I think it's going to be the 49ers. I mean, it's really a coin flip to me, but for some reason, I just feel like it's going to be the 49ers this year, dear Artifact. I don't know. I think they're a little bit more complete team. They're both, strong defensively, have a lot of stars on defense. Obviously, Kelsey and Mahomes make up for a lot of the lack of other firepower that they have, but geez, you look at that. San Francisco, they can come at you in so many waves. You don't want to get behind to them. That is a tough road to hoe. But I'm really what I'm rooting for is a competitive game. Don't want to see a blowout. Just want to see a good one. Chris Clue says, now that's a breakfast. Yes, it is. Good day, Jensen Lees. Good day, Chris Clues. Good to see you. George Varghese. God help the Niners now. Marcus just picked us to win. It's my official prediction. Taylor Swift could have an impact on the final outcome as well. Yeah, I saw bits and pieces of this. Like, I don't know. People are insane. What did we do before the internet? Before everyone had a voice. It's not that people shouldn't have a voice or people shouldn't be able to get on in certain platforms and stuff, but geez, some of the stuff you find out there is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I have a voice right here. I get to say hello to you guys every week. What a deal. Gorilla Time. George, how are you? He says, hello, all my friends. Hope all is well on this Sunday. Yes. We don't need a repeat of the 2-4. Yeah, some of the Super Bowls, for a long time, a lot of the Super Bowls weren't very competitive games. There was a big stretch there when they were just terrible games. And it's just so anticlimactic. I've always said that they should move the Super Bowl to Saturday. Saturday evening. That way, everyone, because it's kind of like a holiday. Everyone, there's so many parties and events and stuff. And just that way, everyone's doesn't have to go to work the next morning. Yes, George. Hope your weekend was great. Couple house cleaning things. We want to make sure it's still Tim's birthday weekend, so if you didn't reach out with birthday wishes to him, please do that. Tim has brought the community together. He's this channel wouldn't be possible without him, so that's all. Very thankful to him for letting me be a part of the Timmyverse, if you will. That's a big deal to me. Big deal to me. And we're going to go into a little bit of this red watch thing here in a little bit, but because I've noticed a lot of red dial watches here lately. How about you guys? Did drop the link, and the link is pinned for anybody who wants to jump on. There is a ton of, it seems like I'm seeing a ton of red watches every time I turn around. Thomas was on last week, so he has the Escapement Show, his show. Speaking of showing, George,
Marco, how are you, mate?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I thought I'd pop on for a bit before I go to my football game.
Absolutely.
I thought I'd keep you company a bit while someone else may pop on later. You always annoy me with your breakfasts. I hate you in a good way.
You hate me.
You make the most amazing looking breakfasts.
I don't even know how this started, because it started when I was doing all those shows on Tim's show. I think somebody asked about energy and or something. I'm like, "Why make breakfast every morning?" And the next day I came on and showed the picture.
You've got a gift for making them. It looks amazing. And the thing is, you make a variety of stuff. So they're not necessarily healthy, but they look amazing and they probably taste amazing.
But they look good. I'm not even sure where we're at on eggs anymore. You know that? Because, for years, everyone said, oh, you got to have eggs every morning. And then they're like, oh, don't eat eggs. They're bad for you. And then they said, just eat the white part. Don't eat the yolk. And then they're like, oh, no, you need some yolk. And then I don't even know where we ended up. It's crazy.
It is. I think my sort of thoughts with that is everything with moderation. That way you don't need to listen to too much. Like I kind of base it on 1 week on the weekends and 1 week off, because anything of a good thing is too much,
Right. I agree. 100%. George, do you own any red dial watches?
I have to think. Hold on. No. I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm sorry, not guilty.
But I see them everywhere.
There are a few that I really like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, there are a few good companies that make them.
Mm-hmm.
The one I really like, and it's not really red titanium.
It's what? So you broke up there for a second.
Really like, but obviously it's not red. There's another nice, but you know what, Mark? Red is a specific thing, and you can't wear it all the time.
Yeah,
It's hard to match.
it is.
Certainly for me.
It definitely has to be an extra watch, I would think.
Yeah, BW's right. Moser do an awesome red. I
Moser
like
does
that
a
as
good
well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they do a nice green as well. That's where I think Moser knocks it out of the park with their colored dials.
Yeah.
I think the Artifacts hit a good one as well. The Aquaterra. That's your home ground, baby. You should be promoting.
Well,
that,
they
Mark,
only
the
make
Aquaterra.
that one in. I know that's why it was the thumbnail, but they only make that one in the 38. They don't make that in the 41.
Not for you, baby.
I know it's not for my giant wrists, you know. Yeah, that my 7.6s don't like the 38, and I love the bracelet on that watch too.
I'm a big fan of the Aquaterra.
Yeah,
big fan. I think value for money, long term, keeping it for a very long term, passing it down. You can't beat that piece. Great watch. Do Seiko do a red turtle?
Grand Seiko or a red turtle? I'm sure they do. They seem to experience. Yeah, I'm sure they do. They seem to experiment with a lot of different colors on those. I think I've seen a burgundy one before. I'm going to flip one up here real quick. That's a newer watch that has caught my attention lately. And that is this Oris Pro Pilot in the burgundy. Kind of a fume burgundy.
What metal is that? Is that just sandblasted?
Yeah, it's boom. It's just a Pro Pilot, like a standard Pro Pilot.
That's really nice.
I think it might be titanium. Isn't it a beautiful watch? A beautiful dial. It's subtle. I like some of the reds can really pop out too much. But
that's really nice. I'm actually shocked.
Yeah, GMT. Just a nice, Oris does some nice stuff. They do some weird stuff, but they do some nice stuff too.
That's really nice. I like the fact it's red inside the belt. That looks really good. And the bezel's amazing. How much is that?
Yeah. This one, I think this is in the 3s. Hold on. Let's go back. What is that? It's not $3,200. Yeah.
That's good. Is it titanium or sandblasted?
It is
stainless steel.
Stainless blast. Yeah, bead blasted. So it must be like a blasted titanium. Yeah. Doesn't really say.
So you figure after this. So you figure after discount, you get it probably about 2.5.
I was gonna say probably like $2,500. Yeah, that's a great watch for $2,500. 41.5 millimeter.
Yeah. There you go, Mark. Your next red watch.
There you go. One of the reasons,
bank.
So this one would have the Sellita in it, I think. Still, yeah, the SW330-1 GMT. And I've argued this before, George, and I'm sure you probably heard me, but I think they should stick with the Sellita movements. When they do those ones with that new Caliber 400, great, 5 days power reserve. But it's like they're almost doubling the price on those watches.
No,
I put their own movement in.
I agree with you. And that I agree.
Yeah. It's just a amazing watch at that price with that movement. You know what I mean? If you can pick that up for $2,500, it's a good deal.
See, this is where Oris has got its power at this price point, that quality.
Right.
This is where it strikes bang. And I think I know a lot of good collectors that have an Oris here and there in their collection because of what it is and what it does. So it's to be expected, that Sellita movement, and I think it works perfectly.
Yeah.
Nice.
BW. I think we're all on the same page. Around $2,500. that's a great buy. Anything more than that, nah, you know. But yeah, $2,500.
It goes
That's a
into the
heck of a piece.
it goes into that territory.
Yeah,
Mark, when it goes above that, it
stretches.
goes into the territory. Pay a little bit more and you get something else.
Yep. Sean, welcome. Always
Yep.
good to see you, sir. He says, "Good morning, dear friends, and congrats to Ryan." Yes, everyone, congrats to Ryan. Great to have you join our crazy community. It is a bunch of
Congratulations
we
on your
are a bunch
pickups.
of we are a bunch of nutballs, but hey, we're good nutballs. You know,
The best.
we're the
best,
best
Mark.
kind. Absolutely.
I just wanted to
Dear
say,
Artifact says, "Oh,
go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
oh, go ahead."
I just wanted to say a big shout out to Sean and his new piece that he got yesterday, that he unveiled yesterday, the Brigade. I think that is such a next level dress piece. And
Brigades are amazing.
I'd rather buy that than some of the Patex. I think it's a really sleek piece, and
Yeah,
it's a totally it suits him really well. It was a beautiful piece. So shout out to Sean.
yeah. Sean's a big Brigade fan. You know, always good. Yeah, but see, that goes back to what I was talking about. That Sean buys what he loves. You know, I'll see Sean's Instagram. You'll see what he's wearing at the time and what's making the picture rounds. You know, and you can tell he buys watches that he loves and loves to wear. You know, and he's a big Brigade
what's
fan.
the point?
We all know that.
What's the point of buying piece just because it's hype and you don't really love it and
Right.
wear it and you're wearing it because it's a thing? But if he buys a piece or whoever buys a piece because he really loves that and what it is, what it stands for, and every time he puts it on, he feels like Superman. He should do that. That's the most sensible thing to do. People that chase pieces, it's like you're similar as well, Mark. You buy pieces that you absolutely love. And
I buy weird
you should
shit.
just buy pieces thinking it's going to go up and it's the thing to wear a Rolex.
Yeah.
That's because you're weird.
I am weird.
But that's good.
But again, I don't hate Rolex.
Be.
I don't hate the hype pieces. I just sometimes I think of when I look at something, I'm like, I really like that, and it's a little bit different. I'm a big fan, Good morning.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Well, Mark, I have a Chrysler issue, so I want to go to Force himself.
A Chrysler issue.
Yeah.
Let me guess, it's a battery.
It is. I don't know what it is. I thought that you'd have a little bit of fun talking about this.
Cool. What is it?
Durango RT 2021. Mm-hmm. Pull in the other day. Turn the car off. Doesn't go off.
What?
Doesn't go off. All right. So playing with it, driving it around, parking it, trying to turn it off again. Doesn't go off. The computer goes off, but the engine doesn't.
Is the engine staying on?
I rush it over to the Dodge dealership I got it from because it's a lease.
Yeah.
They pull it in. None of them know what it is, right? And they go, you probably don't want to hear this, but we have about 50 cars that have come back this week because of 2024 electronic computer issues. It's like an epidemic, apparently.
Yeah. Here's my first recommendation to you. Do you have connected services to the car on your phone?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You're going to want to...
I did. I got an email. There was like 3 recalls and a whole bunch of shit that came up.
There's all kinds of... So I've had probably 35 cars come back here. Most of them recent sales but there's some sort of issue with some software update that they did on the phones, on the phone app. And it's doing one of two. You're the first one I've heard that the car won't shut off. But most people, it's draining the battery when the car's sitting because it's constantly pinging the car, trying to do different things.
Interesting. Very
And
interesting.
yes. So we went like a week and a half where nobody we couldn't figure out, we had cars in. I had people in loaner cars were, apologizing, redelivering cars, buying people flowers, buying people dinner, like just trying to be as nice, because we can't figure it out what's going on. Then finally Friday, Chrysler came up and said, here's what's going on. And they're telling us now when they set up the car, do not set up the phone yet, like the phone app.
Yeah, they didn't. This guy, I don't know who he was, but he was like, "This is the first time I've seen this from this year
Yeah.
model, because 2024 is the problem." And then
Mhm.
they're like, "Yeah, so we have no loaner cars because we're completely backed up. Hopefully
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday we'll have one." And then they're like, "We won't even diagnose it until Thursday, Friday next week." So
It's crazy.
I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you got to do something here. Like,
Yeah. It's fucking nuts.
yeah.
It has been nuts. Now, the last couple days, the cars we delivered, no issues. And it, for some reason, it wasn't every car that did it, but not putting the app on. Like I said, the app, for some reason, whatever they did to the update to the app was constant. It was connecting to the car constantly and draining the batteries on them. So if your car sat overnight, all night, obviously it's not being driven and the battery's not being refreshed or charged, and it's just sucking all the juice out of the battery.
Yeah, it's got like 2 or 3 safety recalls that just popped up also. I wonder if it's related.
I'm sure.
Mark.
It's frustrating, I know. Trust me, because people were coming in. This guy, I'm walking through the showroom because we've been exceptionally busy. So I'm running around doing stuff, and I'm cutting through the showroom, and this guy comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, remember me?" And we sell so many cars. I do kind of remember the guy, but it was his daughter who actually bought the car. He was with her. And I'm like, yeah, he goes, my daughter's car doesn't start. I'm like, oh God, come on down to my office. Let me explain to you what's happening. It's just like, but that's been my last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that must be hell.
And especially at the beginning when we had no clue. We had cars that were here for a couple of weeks that we were just trying over and over again. We diagnosed it, think we found a problem. Get it charged up next, let it sit overnight, next morning, dead, in the garage. We're just like, what is going on? What is happening here?
Yeah.
Not a good time.
No, it's not a good time. And now it's not even this is the worst part, Mark.
Yeah.
It's not my car. It's the wife.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Bitching and home all day.
Oh yeah.
Gotta get her out of here.
You gotta get it fixed. The roommate says, I want my car. I want to drive.
I want to go to fucking Target.
Target. I was at Target the other day. My microwave shit the bed. And so I just bought a counter one because I was looking. Mine is mounted above my stove with the exhaust fan and everything underneath it. I'm looking at that thing going, I have not a clue. I'm going to have to figure this out. But in the interim, I need a microwave. So I just bought a small counter one at Target the other day.
Yeah.
They had a good sale.
I feel like electronics in general are just trash. I feel like it's just shit.
I think that they're purposely.
I think that's the problem, but when they put too much electronics in a car, and you can download your apps and stuff like that, and it's just too much, in my opinion. I'm a little bit old-fashioned when it comes to cars.
Yeah.
I don't need to have my laptop in my screen, and I don't need people to tell me where I'm going and if I need help and assistance. Just let me drive. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah.
so another part of that, we have a huge waiver disclaimer thing that people have, legalese that they have to sign when they buy a car right now, or if they come in for service with this issue, stating that we're gonna take the app out, but you have to understand that your SOS function won't work until they get the fix put in.
Yeah, it was the other shitty part about it was my dad was he worked on cars his whole life. He sold cars,
Mhm.
all the shit, right? He works part-time with Napa now.
Okay.
So he knows all the shit, he knows all the parts, he knows everything, right?
Yep.
Not new shit, not like computer systems
Right.
and W's, but
He could actually diagnose and fix a car instead of just plugging
yeah,
something in, is
yeah.
what you're saying.
He was telling me because I had 2 cars basically go to shit because I drove them into the ground in 2020,
Mhm.
2021, and he told me, he's like, "Look, if you're buying anything, make sure that it is made in Japan, please, because everything else will break or you will have a problem. Lease it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, but I like the Durango." So I leased it. I listened on that part. So then I called him yesterday and he's like, "I
Told you
told you
so.
so. I told you so." And then I was like, "Fuck." It's so true.
He said it. Yeah, it's you watch the recalls and they all have them. It's screwy right now. I actually, the Japanese cars aren't quite what they used to be either.
No, they're not. They're not. Like Nissan and Honda have kind of taken a dump because of the CVT transmission. Uh,
Yeah.
I think for the last 7, 8 years they've been doing that. Um, Toyota is fine, but they're really expensive. That's why I have a Lexus, to be honest with
Right.
you,
Yeah,
because
because you could.
literally in when did I get that thing? 2022 October, I think. Yeah,
Mhm.
2022 October. I went to Toyota with the hopes of getting like a fully loaded SC Camry with the black wheels and all the shit.
Right.
I do a lot of driving, so like I can't have any sort of fancy car.
Right.
And the car price alone before being over sticker fully loaded was almost 40 grand. And then when you factor in the over sticker at that time, it was
Mhm.
almost 50 out the door.
Yeah.
Then I have a friend of mine who's like, you could have a top of the line Camry for almost 50 out the door, or because you're my friend, I'll give you the ES350 ultra luxury
The
at sticker
S350 is a
price.
great car.
Yeah, it was at sticker price, which was 54,
Yeah.
right?
And
And
it's a great car. It's one of my favorite Lexus.
right.
It's
So I
just
was
it's
like,
just a great, it's not pretentious or it's just a great car. It runs.
yeah. So I was like, okay, for like a 8 grand difference, okay, no problem. That's why I have
Absolutely.
it. Otherwise, I would have had a Toyota.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh man. And then we got all these electric vehicles coming, which are
Uh
not. Listen. I don't
it's a
know.
nightmare. It's a nightmare.
I don't know. I'm not. I don't know.
I'm not sold, but
I
they're forcing us to sell them. Like the Dodge Hornet or the new Hornet. We
Yeah.
we can't order a gas model in Pennsylvania.
So that's the thing, right? Look, but I can't talk about what I do, but I'm kind of
Yeah.
in this world a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting into it more and more. I would not buy an electric vehicle at this
Mm-hmm.
moment, but I can tell you that the powers that be, big automotive, I guess you call it, and and the government, the
The
utility,
government,
they've all decided, and there's
that we're
nothing
gonna
you
have
can
them.
do about it. Nothing you could do about it. They've all
Yep.
decided. So you better buy your
It's
gas
inevitable.
vehicle. Yep, it's inevitable. There's nothing you could do. I'm on
Yeah.
the phone
Like,
calls. Nothing you could
yeah,
do.
I agree. Buckley. I'm the only one in my group of friends that hasn't got one, and they all take the piss out of me. Look, here comes the petrol guy. And the thing is, I like the sound. from a child, I like the thing of I like the V6s, the V8, and when I accelerate, I like to hear the engine. I don't want to hear anything whistling, and suddenly I'm at 0 to 100 kilometers there.
Yeah.
But as Buckley says, we ain't gonna have a chance. They're gonna enforce some heavy restrictions on what we do if we drive stuff that isn't electric, and ultimately that's where we're going. But it's not the chosen way for me personally. That's why I still have what I've got. But I think ultimately we're gonna be.
We could all move to Ohio because evidently they don't give a fuck. They still get gas engine cars in Ohio.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm on the phone calls, so I see what they're doing. I see, at least for the tri-state area, I see the amount of money that they've lined up as far as implementing charging stations and building the network. New York alone has several $100 million in rebates and incentives that they're going to pay out to have these things installed. So they're not doing that on a whim.
No, they are not. So the other day, here's another interesting thing. There was a guy in the showroom the other day, and we have a charging station outside. George, we have a dual charging thing outside the showroom, and so customers who bought cars from us, if they're local and or whatever, we let them charge the car. We give them the code that they can, if they want to stop by and charge their car. Very few do it, but some do.
Yeah.
This guy starts railing on me that I should be giving him, if I'm letting someone with a charge their electric battery on their car, I should be giving him free gas.
Oh, okay.
Just railing on me, and he was serious. I said, "Sir, you obviously are very angry about this, but you need to pick a different battle." You
should say, "Sir, excuse me, could you come this way to the back and get the baseball out and just give him a quick slap?"
If this was the 90s when you just abuse people, it's a kinder, gentler car world now.
Yeah,
it's a crazy car world.
What is it? Is it you don't have a big level 3, right? It's probably a level 2 charger.
We have dual level 1s out front. We have a level 3 over on our used car lot. We don't have any cars that take it yet.
So you have a level 3. That's pretty.
Yeah, that's part of like the Chrysler thing is to have one installed, and you actually. So we had to pay for the charger itself and the installation, but a lot of the installation, the power company
paid for.
Did a lot of that for free. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like if people don't think this is real, I know of buildings that are getting 4 or 5 chargers installed for like $5,000 out of pocket.
Yeah.
So it's coming. It's coming.
It's not going to stop. It's definitely coming.
Good morning, gents.
George, how are you, sir?
Hey, good. I love the car talk, so I'll tell you guys a funny story. In California, you know where I'm from, and my parents live down there. So they're take this whole EV to a new level, right? Yeah. The only problem is Governor Newsom has mandated occasional mandatory blackouts where you can't use. Yeah. So the area where my parents lived, the time is between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. over the last summer. So guess what? You come home from work and you want to charge your EV, you can't do it until 8 o'clock at night,
Yep.
Oh my God.
It's just stupid. Yeah, exactly. It's just unbelievable. And I hear like all these, I see that the UAW, and I don't want to get political or anything like that, but they're endorsing like Biden and all this stuff in terms of, like the green policies and all that. And you would think that's counterproductive to American auto workers. It just makes no sense to me because, China is going to produce a cheaper car than the electric
Right.
vehicle than most of these American-made companies, and
Mhm.
it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand any of this stuff, but
Honestly,
it's like,
you know what I think it is, George?
yeah,
I think that every year they have to come out with a new car and beat the one from the year prior. And I think the automotive companies are like, it's a lot easier to just come out with an electric vehicle that runs 2 or 3 years that gets people excited. And it's
Yeah.
easier. It's ultimately, I think it's easier to sell because all the people that, not all of them, but a huge majority of the people that are buying EV, they're like, oh, Audi G-Tron, that's pretty cool. Tesla, that's cool.
Mhm.
Taycan, that's cool. And that's trickling down.
Yes.
And I think it's just about creating a new sales, right?
I,
Like the
Mhm.
amount
I
of
think I think the problem is the American manufacturers, their cost base for making a electric vehicle is so much higher
Yeah.
than the Japanese or the Germans or anything like that. That, I think, Mark, you probably know this. I think just to make like an electric vehicle, GM, like the Volt, how much have they spent, right?
Right.
And to
Just
sell one, it's like totally unprofitable, and yet they do it. And
Mhm.
then on top of that, you have the new UAW, negotiations and their new
Yep.
salary requirements. I mean, this is like, I don't understand it, but we'll see,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. It's crazy. And they're crazy expensive. I mean, the car. So here's another little tidbit for you guys.
they're expensive.
They're expensive.
Yes,
So,
very
so
expensive.
we had a great month in January, and we're actually off to a flaming start here in February. But overall, Stellantis had their like worst month ever last month. That's Stellantis owns Chrysler.
Yeah.
So we have rebates on Grand Cherokees right now that end on the 7th. Okay. On February 7th, at which time they're going to re-invoice all of the Grand Cherokees on the ground at a lower price.
Oh,
Wow, that's a nice
yeah,
tip. That's a nice
yeah.
Yeah.
tip for anybody
That's
who
good,
wants to get a
man.
car.
Yeah. So but you have to really look at it, because right now some of those cars are offering 15% off a brand new Grand Cherokee.
Can I tell you, I had a Grand Cherokee. I love that car. I
Mhm.
had it since 2015. I had the Altitude Edition.
Oh yeah, that's a great
And
car.
yeah, I loved it. I had no problems with it. Ran it to about 125,000 miles. And then my AC went kaput during the hottest time of the year. And when I went
I
to,
remember that.
yeah, and I went to take it in to get an estimate to repair it. And the guy said it's going to cost more than the value of the car.
It was the car. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Grand Cherokee also for long. Oh my god,
Yeah.
long time. And it didn't break. It held up.
Mm.
We took it to 170.
Holy
Yeah.
crap, Sean.
That's really good.
Sean says we have 34 chargers in our 2 buildings, 8 level 3s, the rest level 2s. Within the next 2 years, we're planning to add more, including buffered batteries. Expensive.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
crap.
A level 3
Is it-
with installation is roughly 75,000 per charger.
Yeah, it was expensive because we started that. They started that about 3 weeks after I took the job there, putting that in the used car lots across the street, and it's beautiful, but we don't have a car that needs it yet. They keep promising us the new Ram is going to need it.
Here's the problem too, Mark. Our country, we don't have the grid to handle all the EVs if everybody got an EV, right?
Right.
We just
Exactly.
we don't have the, I know, like when I drive from my rural area to the west side of the state, there is
Mhm.
no charging station anywhere. And
Yeah.
I have friends who do that, and they're always looking at how much
Yep.
battery life they have, and they actively have to find something.
Right.
And we just don't have the infrastructure to do a complete overhaul of our transportation system in the U.S. right now, to be honest
Right.
with you. And
George,
I mean, go ahead.
Can I say that maybe, because I'm not, let's not get political, but
Right.
there's been a huge effort in the last 20 years, maybe call it 30 years, but 20, for climate change activism, right? I'm not saying I'm on that side because I'm not going to say where I am, but I think everybody
Yeah.
kind of knows where I fall.
Yeah.
But maybe that's bullshit and we do have the grid and it's not actually a problem. Right? Maybe that's the grand conspiracy, is actually we could do it and that we've been told we can't for financial reasons and people benefiting from craziness.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause
Mhm.
I live on Long Island and I've been told for 20 years that I'll be underwater, and you know what? I'm not underwater.
Yeah.
So, just a hot take. I'm not gonna say any more about it because I know there'll be a few people in the chat. Perhaps we've been lied to.
That never
Again?
happens. Our government never lies about anything.
Never.
Never lied to us before, you know.
They kept cigarettes a secret for 100 years, pretending they
Yeah.
weren't addictive. So
I don't want to get political, but I'll just take a hot take on a Sunday morning. Okay. I can't recall the last time our government has been right on anything.
We do
the
have a bad track
intervention-
record.
All the interventions that we've been involved with post WW2,
Mhm.
every one of them has been on the wrong side and the
Yes.
wrong idea. Vietnam, Korea, so on and so on and so on. You know, and now we get involved in things. We can't even have a decent infrastructure in the United States, yet we blow up bridges, build bridges back up, blow up schools, build it back up
Yep.
in other countries that hate us. And
Yep.
here we are. And to me, it's like, it's, I don't know, you know, that's my hot take. I think our leaders, our country, we've got some serious issues. So
Yes.
it makes money.
Yep.
yeah, war is like, just like I was reading The Economist, like like the Russian economy is so strong because all they're doing is building for the war machine in Ukraine.
That's how we got out of the Great
That-
Depression.
Yeah, you just keep building for the next war. You know, you have Lockheed Martin, you have, you know, Raytheon, and all these guys are with the best, you know, people out there working with our esteemed senators and congressmen, and, you know, giving them money, and they pass all this stuff. You know, what do you expect, right?
It was
Yeah,
no less. Oh,
This-
I was
this-
gonna say it
oh,
was.
sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's no less an authority than Dwight David Eisenhower, Ike, who said it in his farewell speech to the nation: "Beware of the military-industrial complex."
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it's really quite sick because it's like I don't know how much we've sent Ukraine, a couple of billion, multiple billion, right?
Crazy stuff.
So
Yeah.
Guys,
you look
they've got another 50 billion going out
okay,
in the next few weeks from
billion.
Europe.
Okay.
50 billion.
So check this
Yep.
out. The Chinese came to California. They cleaned up the area inside of a week or two, right?
Mhm.
No problem. Imagine if you took that couple of billion and tried going after the homeless issue, right?
Exactly.
The problem is there's a couple of assholes that are making so much money, Pelosi, that it's never going to change because you go in there worth $100,000, you come out worth a couple $100 million. How does that happen?
Right. Exactly.
How does that happen?
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's interesting.
Many,
Founding
you know,
a company, taking it public, and then selling it for hundreds of millions. I never hear about them doing that, but somehow they have the same net worth.
Mm-hmm.
One of my part-time ventures is I teach at a public university where I live or nearby, and I went to a faculty meeting, and they actually received $1 million grant from our government to study how climate change affects people's access to healthcare. And I thought to myself, $1 million, you know, and you look at the building and you have exposed pipes, you have equipment from the 1980s that you haven't changed, and yet, you know, you could have used that $1 million to fix and repair this facility.
Yes.
But yet even the faculty are so ingrained into this crap that that they just cannot wrap themselves to the realization that their number one goal should be to train and educate the future healthcare providers in this country. And they've totally missed the boat on that. And
Yep.
it's just sad to see it in our institutions of higher learning.
Money wasted, George. Money wasted.
It is total money
And-
wasted. And
And
these kids are
it's
paying
just a
top dollar
war
tuition.
machine.
Yeah. They're paying, George, these kids go to 4 years professional school. They come out in debt, $360,000 of debt at a private institution. And they come out so much in debt that they can't see straight. And yet their institutions are hiring DEI directors, diversity, exclusion, inclusion, all those directors, what I call the religious police at the administration. In fact, I was actually called to a CE course because I was raised in the South, and when I was teaching, and one of my students was doing a procedure, I actually had the gall to say thank you, ma'am, to the patient, or thank you, sir. They don't like that. It's absolutely, woke. So I had to go to a course on how to properly address people.
Oh
And
my
can you believe
God.
there was actually a lady in charge of it, and that she's getting paid six figures plus health insurance, 401k, to have a course on what they call it diversity, inclusion, and all this stuff. And it's just unbelievable.
It's
know?
crazy.
So-
It is crazy.
So I had to
Just-
sit
just
through
by
this
that-
program.
Just by that,
know?
George.
Yeah.
George, just by that course, being enabled by the powers to be, shows you where we're going globally. Not just in the States, but globally. Just by that course that you had to go and do that. That's
Exactly.
just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I had to spend my own time and money and go down there. Otherwise, they were going to rescind my faculty status. And it's not like they're paying me a lot. They're paying me
Right.
$70 when I teach once every couple of months on a Friday when I'm off. And so it wasn't worth the money. But I just went just to hear what they were going to teach me. And it's
Mhm.
just unbelievable. It is truly unbelievable what they're indoctrinating these kids. And this is not at an undergraduate level. This is at a graduate, post healthcare, well, everybody knows it's at the dental school level. So,
Right.
and I just found it shocking, to be honest.
Yeah, it is shocking. Evan G points out that Ike also railed against the educational industrial complex, and he says he pulled another quote from that speech. It said the prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by federal employment, project allocation, and the power of money is ever present and is gravely to be regarded. And it's true. It's just what you're talking about, George. It's great. They set the tone with how they teach and what they teach to push that out to the country or the world, just by their own biases.
Oh yeah. And the interesting thing is everybody knows I live on the the west side of the country, and everything here is ultra. I live in a rural area where there's some common sense, but you go to the west side of the state, and it's like a whole different world over there. Totally different world. And the things that are normal that you think makes common sense is absolutely backwards. It's unbelievable. And these kids. And the institution I teach at is one of the top 5 best institutions in the world, and they're teaching these kids about climate change and how it's going to affect their practice lives. And I'm like, well, it's pretty simple. If there's a flood, you're not going to go to work. If there's a fire, you're not going to go to work. How much more of climate change do you really need to know? And do you really need to take a class on this versus taking a class on practice management or something to that extent? But hell, what do you know, right?
So I'm not going to read this out. Oh, you can't actually. I don't have keys. Never mind.
What are you looking for?
The Billy comment?
The Republican one?
Yeah. So the hot take on that is if all of us are working to be able to afford luxury watches, that's probably why, because last I checked, they don't hand out luxury watches for free just because you whine
Yeah.
and want one. It's
coming.
probably why.
Yeah.
It's probably why, you know. But that's my hot take. My other hot take is George was talking about the, you know, I'm gonna be real cryptic here. Let's see if people can put it together.
All right.
I have a lot of friends that work in unions. They are constantly building and refreshing major hospitals and facilities. Some of these facilities are performing procedures that cost around $50,000, 50 grand average.
Oh wow.
So again, I think if you follow the money, you can figure out why there's an
Mhm.
agenda to just let things happen, because I don't know what a doctor makes. I don't know how much effort is involved in a procedure like that, but 50 grand sounds like a lot
Yeah.
for a day's work. I don't know. I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there.
Just, you know,
50
put it on the table.
$50,000. You know, I have many friends who are orthopedic surgeons. That's nothing for a hip.
Wow.
That's nothing. That's nothing.
Wow.
And I have friends who are, like I said, I have a good friend of mine. He's an orthopedic surgeon. He does 6 or 7 of them a day.
Jeez.
And I always joke with him. I said, I think you put a hip or, you know, or a knee into everybody in this community. And he
Yeah.
just smiles at me and he says, business has been real good, you know, and it's about $40,000 to $50,000 per hip or
Jeez.
per knee. It's not cheap.
So basically, one Bitcoin a hit.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Hey.
the interesting thing is I have a good friend of mine in town here who owns a coin shop, and this gentleman comes in every week and buys, you know, 5 figures worth of coins, gold and silver from him every week because the
Yeah.
money's so great. You know,
Yeah.
it's just unbelievable. But
It becomes somebody's got to do it. Might as well be me.
exactly,
Yeah.
you know.
Guys,
And,
I'm going to bow out of this beautiful conversation. I've got my football starting. I wish everybody a happy Sunday and enjoy your day.
George, thanks
Ciao.
for coming by.
you as well.
always.
Take care. Be safe. But
Bye, Buckley.
yeah, I didn't want to hijack your show there.
Oh
Mark,
no,
but,
you're fine.
yeah,
But,
sorry,
hey, the
but
show
it's just-
here. The great thing is the show goes where the show goes. You know.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know, that's the beauty of
You
it. BW says his wife's a teacher in New York City. Over Christmas vacation, a student decided to become Amber when she was Albert before vacation, and his wife was written up for calling him her Albert after coming
Yeah.
back.
there you go. Yeah.
Disaster. It's a absolute disaster. And you know
Yeah.
what? There's other countries that are just so much tougher. Because I being in New York, I deal with a lot of different cultures, right? I
Yeah.
deal with a lot of different people that own a lot of shit. And they are gonna come in, I don't know when, and they're gonna demolish us. Because this is just not a thing. It's not
Yeah.
a thing at all. You know? It's a joke.
It's hard. It's hard to get people to come to work.
Oh my God,
It's-
Mark, that's part of the problem is how
Yeah.
many times a day with this current issue you have with the electronics is some idiot who doesn't know how to handle people running to you to save him because
Yeah.
the customer's ready to rip his head off because he just
Mhm.
doesn't know how to communicate with the person, right?
Yep.
I feel like
Yeah,
no
I hear
matter even with our hobby, go to a
Mhm.
Rolex, go to a Rolex service center. They don't
They
even
have
know
no
how to
idea.
handle you.
Nope.
It's a joke.
I literally sold a watch at my AD one day because the salesperson just didn't ask any of the right questions. And I just happened to be standing there. I was just, chatting, and my SA walked away. He can sell a watch. He's been there a long time, but this kid was there, and I finally I ended up qualifying him. finding out what else he was looking at other than this tutor, and going through the stuff and saying, giving him the reasons why I thought the tutor was a better watch, and basically basically asked him to buy the watch. And he said yes. And I'm like, it's amazing how it works when you do your job. Like,
Yeah.
how do you get a salesperson that doesn't ask questions or ask you to buy it? Everyone, and so much of it, so many of these salespeople, cars, watches, everything that got into the business, either right before or during COVID and lockdowns and shortages, they have no idea how the real world actually works. You're just constantly retraining them. Father Artifact says he identifies his Timex as a Rolex Submariner, so you must pay me $20K for it.
Yeah.
I met a they, someone who wanted to be referred to as they. That was
Oh yeah. Trust me, I've gone through that training too.
Yeah. My brain stopped. I didn't know. I'm normally not a speechless person, but
it was surreal. It was one of the most surreal training events I've been to. For 1 hour, I was indoctrinated about he, she, they, them. The proper way to introduce people. You can't call them Mr., Mrs., Ma'am, Sir.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, guess what? I was just thinking to myself, if I hired you into my office and you didn't say thank you, Mr. So-and-so, or thank you, Mrs. So-and-so, I would fire you on the spot,
Yeah.
That's where it's going, is no one has the right in your own business, in your own practice. No one can tell you what to do. If they don't like it, they don't work there. If they don't like it, don't get treatment there. Leave.
That's right.
It's absurd.
Yeah. It's, and if somebody wants to be called something different, I really don't give like my life is, I don't care. It doesn't affect me at all. But
exactly,
if I call you ma'am or Mrs. or something because I'm looking at a woman and you want to give me shit about it, that's when I have an issue. You can correct me politely to say I prefer to be called whatever. Fine, I don't care. But it's that indignation that they, and now they're all butthurt and they need a cry room and they need, I'm like, dude, no, I didn't make this choice. My eyes see what they see. If you want to be something different, God bless you. But
I agree. Everything you said is right, Mark. And in my office, I do have quite a few people who are in transition, and I have there's no issues with them. I've been seeing them for years. It doesn't matter to me. The only thing I tell my staff is, as long as they pay their bills and we're doing good work, I don't care. I don't care what you want to be addressed as or whatever. But the reality is like when you're forced to indoctrinate, students at a professional level, even at any level, it's unbelievable. But at a professional level, and making it on par as the same as like learning how to do a procedure, it's a real dicey game that our kids are learning these days. And it makes them, it really dumbs them down as they get into the real world, in my opinion. So
and the world's hard.
It is hard.
This is the part they don't understand. The world's not easy. It's not easy to be successful. It's not easy to do the things you need to do. It's not easy to get up every morning and say, I'm going to go to work today. It would be nice if you didn't have to. But you do, because the world's hard. The world's a hard place. And when you aren't, to what Buckley was saying, we're going to get creamed by the...
I was watching a little bit of the recent, I don't know if you guys saw this, but this should upset like a lot of parents. The hearings they had about the social media companies in the Senate last week. Did you guys watch any of that? It was very interesting.
I saw that. No.
The CEO of TikTok was there, and he was grilled by, I think it was Ted Cruz, about, hey, how come there's like two different types of TikTok? The one in China, they teach kids advanced math, science, this and that. And in the United States, it's mostly like dumbification of like kids, you know, all this false media and stuff like that. Because the reason is, I'm not advocating, anything that communist China does, but you have to have a certain amount of balance when it comes to all this, and it's just like, it seems like to me, anything based out of China is adversarial to the United States, and you have to take it as real threat. And our politicians are so stupid, especially one side of the political spectrum, that they think that everything should be free or whatever. But guess what happens? The Chinese think well beyond our politicians' IQ levels. You know what I'm saying? They're way above that. I've been to China. I walked there. They're great people, but they have 100-year plan. We don't even have we don't even have a budget plan for the next year.
Right.
Congress. It's always
we don't have a next month plan.
No.
They're also tough as shit.
Yeah,
they are.
They're tough. Like I said, I deal with a lot of different cultures, and the big difference is those guys will email me and call me on a Sunday like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Our culture, it'll be 2 weeks.
Yep.
Little things like, there's just so many things. I'm not going to go into it, but I can tell you right now that it's definitely different.
Luckily, this has been happening since the 80s with the Japanese.
Yeah.
The Japanese were, like, in the 80s, were seen as an existential threat to the United States, even back then. Yeah. Now it's just moved on to China, India, and all these other countries, because they're eating our lunch when it comes to the production of engineers, scientists, and et cetera, et cetera. So, our country, we have some serious issues, but our politicians really are blindsided by division and money and everything else.
In fact, do you know why the Harley Fat Boy is called the Harley Fat Boy? It's because when they managed to successfully lobby for taxes on imported motorcycles from Japan, they decided to name a new motorcycle. It's the combination of Fat Man and Little Boy, the atomic bombs we dropped on Japan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah.
I did not know that either.
Yeah. Well,
that's gold.
Yeah.
What's up, Evan?
Oh, just man, as much fun as watches are, geopolitics is probably one of my favorite hobbies to pay attention to. So it's like a sickness.
Yes.
And then one comment I wanted to really hop on and make is the kind of interesting. So my observation is very little of this is done with malicious intent. A lot of this happens because, in general, people are stupid and self-interested, right? Nobody's looking big picture, right? Except for a handful of people that are trying. And as far as our politicians being kind of dumb, yeah, there's a lot of them, but a lot of it is the structure of the primary system forces them to have to, they're constantly campaigning, right? Because it's really easy to get primaried out. And unfortunately, with how the primary system is structured, it pushes both parties to the extremes, right? Because it's only your most hardcore dedicated voters that actually show up to primaries and caucuses, right? So if you don't throw red meat out to all these fucking nutcases that sit on political forums and just scream the most wildest vitriolic bullshit, they'll find somebody who will, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of structural issues that we're dealing with that are we're seeing the culmination of all the structural problems right now. It's really, really interesting to see and kind of fucked. So
yeah. Yeah, it's bad.
And I killed it, so
what are you gonna do? It's just it's ridiculous in some ways. But you're right, especially if you're in Congress, because you're on a 2-year plan, so you are literally playing to the extreme of your base every day.
Yep, that's why the Senate tends to be more even tempered. With the 6-year, you can they can actually kind of do stuff, and then they play all the games so they can have votes on stuff that they don't have to claim credit for. So that way, if they vote for something that they know is going to be unpopular with they don't have to take credit for it. It's really interesting, and it's I don't know. I don't. The problem is like outside of like having a benevolent dictatorship, which never, even if it starts that way, it never stays that way.
No.
Like I just struggle to figure out what's a better system. You know.
It's true. There, I mean, of the systems, I think we have the best one. It's easy to get caught up in the minutia of
Yeah. Well, and if you look at what the
party
founding
politics.
fathers like actually wanted, essentially you had to be like an educated landowner to vote, right?
Mhm.
So, and
Far from that.
well, yeah, so that's where, well, like in a weird fucked up sense, it's just like, man, like I always struggle with this, where it's just there's a lot of folks that vote that are just so woefully uneducated on topics. I kind of question whether or not they should, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, but then like one vote, one person, equal representation, right? It's just
Yeah.
Where do your ideals stand? It's really fucked. But I keep hoping and praying that if we just better education, especially stuff on civics, right? This is where like humanities education is important, and just
Mhm.
not just doing pure like was it reading, writing, arithmetic isn't always the best, is because kind of having that like understanding of civics and in like philosophy is important, because philosophy it teaches logic and critical thinking skills, right? Like
Right.
how to structure an argument, right? How to formulate debate.
Evan, I'm going to give you something even more basic than that. I
Yeah.
think the issue here is this: at the high school level, they're not teaching kids certain things. Like when I was in high school, like auto mechanic, they're not teaching them wood shop. They're not teaching them basic economics 101. Okay.
Right.
So you have a bunch of kids graduating high school that have no idea of what economics is, what inflation is, how to change a flat tire, how to change a battery on their car, or how to do even the minimal of things, right?
Oh yeah.
And yet they go on to higher levels of education, and then they're being indoctrinated into a certain manner in which it is not conducive to the real world life. And that is the problem right there.
Well, so here's the thing: is university education was never like outside of like professional degrees. So I don't actually know exactly what you do, but I'm assuming you're some sort of either like doctor or dentist or something where the training is very specific to your career. But like university education was never about job skills; it was always about creating academics.
Yes.
It just happens to kind of translate over, and there's some skills that translate over into like, and like it's been evolved and changed, but like the goal of the university is to create PhDs who then go and do research. Everything else is secondary. It's ancillary.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, and maybe I'm a Neanderthal. Everybody knows that. I'm but I don't only spend my YouTube time watching Tim Wright and Watkins. I am a big fan of.
Need something to regain those brain cells you lost watching a stream.
This is the funny part. This is the funny part. Is one of the hottest parts of podcasting and YouTube right now is traffic being driven to ex-criminals, mafia members and different people. They are growing faster than almost anybody on YouTube. And it's because they're having these discussions and they have more common sense and more principles than your PhDs.
Most street smarts, right?
It's fucking true. Like I said, I'm a Neanderthal, but I relate more to a murdering psychopath that sold cocaine in the 80s than I do a college professor.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Go watch a Sammy the Bull podcast.
Yeah.
And then tell me there's not a lot of common sense and intelligence there.
And continuing, sorry, like valid points. And like the ultimate point I was trying to get at is not everyone should be going to college, because we've basically tried to square peg round hole it into something it's not. And a lot of companies basically started using it as an excuse to not offer on the job training. Right.
I didn't go at all.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like if you look at like my this has been a while since I've looked into this, and so my statistics are probably old. But like back when I was looking into this kind of stuff, like if you actually look at the graduation rates for college for people who start college and then actually graduate, it's only like 30 to 40% for like an undergraduate degree in a lot of universities, and a lot of it's because it's not because people flunk out so much as they just hit that 2-year point where they have to pick a major. They don't know what they want to do because like I don't know, Buckley, you're a little bit younger, but you probably still had a piece of this. But like essentially, like my generation was told, like you basically college is what's going to happen after high school. There is no other option, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that was drilled into
that's
us.
why
And so
I
you
have
have a
my
lot of
history
folks
degree.
going, and you see a lot of folks are going that just shouldn't be going, right? And because like it's not that they're not capable, it's not that they're not smart, it's just they're not university type people.
Mhm.
No, I had a listen. I could have done it.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
but I wasn't. Listen, the
There's
idea.
no value in it for you. That's the thing.
I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to be a lawyer, and I can't do spreadsheets. So, you take those elements out. That's like 50% of the reason why you'd go to college.
Mhm.
So,
And then there's an opportunity cost, and the opportunity cost is like the career building you would otherwise get in that like 4 to 6 years, right? Otherwise, you get a bunch of people with like a generic business degree that go in as an entry level business analyst
they
at
don't know
60K a year, and they have no idea what they're doing, right?
they don't
Right.
know anything. That one of the things that Tim says sometimes when he criticizes gray market guys is he's like, "You should have gone to a good business school," and that
Yeah,
makes
no.
me
Shit, dude.
I want to rip his face off when he says that.
Oh my god. Well, it's I don't know. It's
more wrong when he says things like that, and I could just tell you, look, I'm a knuckle dragger, but as far as financials go, I've done better than all my friends that went to school.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's what it
And
is.
then I mean, I've got 2 engineering degrees, so of course I think I know everything. But also, just for a little poking fun at myself, engineers are the whiniest fucking people. If you've ever been in a class with them, oh my god, they're the first people to, like bitch and moan and try to push homework out from like get the class like turn against the professor to push homework. It's so funny. Like they're the most whiniest fucking arrogant people. It's oh my god, it's funny to just watch this shit play out, But anyway, but the point of that was also like, I see what some of these like MBAs that like end up in business, like, and I'm not saying that there's no value to like an MBA, right? But I'm saying is like most of these people that get an MBA, they get it from some diploma mill college, and they're just taught to like regurgitate the same bullshit they're fed and not actually think about the whys. And so you
Right.
get a bunch of those fuckers making decisions that like, and then they end up being like really shit decisions in the long run, but short term look really good. And then they end up rotating into another position, and it's just everyone that like is here like cleaning up their mess after they leave, right?
Mhm.
And also, George, sorry, I didn't mean to bowl you over like earlier.
Don't worry
No,
about it.
no.
I went on was on a run, so
I can
Go
tell
for it.
you, a lot of my friends at Penn State specialized,
Mm.
in business or engineering or whatever it was. Monetarily, I've done much better than them, over the course of our lives. And I just have a history degree that I got because my mother said you're going to college. So I was like, well, I like history. I guess I'll study that. I had no passion to do anything with my history degree. I always thought I'd get into some sort of sales. I wandered into a dealership one day and have been there ever since. And but to your point, so many people go and just get it's like the basics.
Yep.
And they and what you said, regurgitate what they, that's all they can do. They don't, there's no critical thinking.
So I'm going to take one more hot take Sunday, and then I'll completely have hijacked and ruined your stream, Mark. And
so
then
you
I'll
drop a
leave
grenade
because
and
I've got
run.
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I hear of all the student loan repayments and stuff, it makes me want to throw up because that's the most morally inept, corrupt thing our politicians do all the time, and it makes me sick. I'm sorry if your kid went to Harvard and majored in Middle European studies and had $300,000 in student loans. It is none of my damn business to help pay for that shit with my tax-paying money. I paid for my own, my parents weren't exactly wealthy. They were immigrants. They put me and my sister through professional schools. They paid for what they can. And my sister and I paid for what we could. And we paid it all back. There's nothing worse than having a government handout giving to kids getting degrees that they know that they really can't get a job other than a tour guide. And it just really pisses me off. It just really pisses me off that this country has gone to this lowest of lows to offer this type of like bailout to students kids who've made poor decisions in life in general and expect the taxpayers to pay them out. They're far better going off to community college. Here's even a better idea. How about we stop all these damn interventions everywhere? How come we can't mind our own business? They keep telling us, I remember the 70s waking up in the morning with my father waiting in line for gas so, they could get a tank of gas done. Well, now we have all the oil in the world, and they said, oh, if we were only energy independent, we wouldn't have to worry about the Middle East. Well, we are energy independent, and now we're still in the Middle East. My father has an interesting story he told me. When he was working, one of his coworkers' son was one of the first few kids to die in Iraq, and he went to the funeral. And my father said it was one of the most surreal events he's ever been to, because he known his coworker for almost like 25 years, and he held his son's picture to his chest, and he told my dad, he said, Abraham, take a look. This is my son. He's dead, and he's gone. This is what happens in this country when nobody stands up. We have no reason to be in Iraq. This is all a lie. And my father just went home in tears, and he told me the story. And that kind of scarred me, because I've never seen my father cry. And my mom told me that he was crying for the first time, because he said he's never seen him like that. What I'm saying is we have to hold our politicians accountable. Far too many times have we let these imbeciles get off with doing crazy things like this, ruining our military, ruining our treasure and blood in overseas problems like this. This really pisses me off a lot. And I'm just so sick of it, Mark. I can't even tell you how much this pisses me off.
It's horrible.
It is very horrible that we can't get our act together. All the trillions and trillions of dollars we've spent, and in my office, I see a lot of these Iraqi war veterans, and they are all screwed up in the head, and they don't have any access to proper health care. Nothing. We just throw them by the dump side, and nobody addresses these problems.
So
nobody addressed this problem.
I'd love to hear your take next Sunday on how, your people are getting bussed up from New York, getting a free cell phone, housing, free healthcare, and all sorts of stuff by the tens of thousands.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that in New York, where they're giving New York, your backyard, $53 million of subsidies to people just across. You can't even take care of your own homeless situation there.
8 of them just beat the shit out of 2 cops, nearly beat them both to death last week. But not a problem. There was an interview about this on one of my favorite, and I'm making a joke, but it's on CNN, and they asked one of the reporters about this, what happened in New York, and they asked him, well, why don't they go to Florida and commit the same crimes? He said, well, they'll go to jail in Florida. Do this. Yeah, or a citizen will pull
in
out
New York
and shoot them.
Yeah, this is it's like a running joke. The politicians are making a joke out of everything these days. It's a travesty.
Link for AOC. She's a fucking twat.
Yeah. And on that note, since I've hijacked and destroyed your stream, Mark, I'm gonna go. I've got some stuff to do at the.
George is lobbing grenades on his way out.
Hold on. I just want to say.
Yeah.
How crazy is it that Mark named the stream "Seeing Red"?
Seeing red.
It's very apropos. So
amazing.
Well, in honor of Evan, I did put your red watch up.
I saw that. I noticed that. I appreciate it.
Like I said, I'm socially, I'm very liberal. I don't care. You're gay, straight, bi, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. But when it comes to politics, I think don't get involved in things because we've never been right.
Yeah.
Our entire infrastructure has always been wrong on everything. Everything.
Well, And what I think we need to stop doing is stop viewing it in terms of like Democrat, Republican. Like I'm a registered independent, right? Like I consider myself a pragmatist. Or I look at policy, right? Like what is good policy? And sometimes both sides actually have like stances that I agree with, and it comes down to we should champion policies, not people or like parties. And I think that's part of it is because it turns into team sports, right?
Yeah.
And then it's not about what they're actually doing. It's just team red versus team blue, and my team wins, right? That's the message we need to start spreading, and we need, and like it's I don't know, it sucks and it sounds really cheesy and kind of Mr. Smith goes to Washington, but like get involved, right? Like contact your local representatives if there's a bill on like that's coming up for a vote, like call them. If you actually call them, you might actually talk to them themselves and not just like get one of those canned response emails, right? Like get involved.
Well, that's part of the problem.
I have-
People don't get involved, but the people who do get involved
Are the loudest minority usually, right?
I have been a lifelong member of the Democratic Party from way back in the days when my father used to, Walter Mondale days and Jimmy Carter days and all those. Right,
That was a very
But
different
this
party. Yeah.
different party. This party that the Democratic Party used to stand for like strong borders, tight immigration. They used to stand for workers' rights in this country. This is not the Democratic Party that my parents grew up with or I grew up with. And they were not into all this interventions throughout the world. They were not.
Yeah.
This is not your Bill Clinton's Democratic Party.
Yeah.
This is certainly not. And what is happening is like there's some undercurrent, and like I guess every party has this. But the problem is the underbelly of the Democratic Party seems like it's dictating policy, and that's a shame.
Man,
It's a shame.
I think you give them too much credit, and I would go as it's. I guarantee it's not quite as well thought out. From what I see, you're right. Bill Clinton's Democratic Party was basically they looked at Jimmy Carter's loss. They looked at how popular Reagan was, and it's like, hey, what if we decide to be Diet Reagan, right? Yeah. And so that started the new third way Democratic Party, and that's been like that was the platform in the 90s up through probably Obama preached a lot of progressive stuff, but really his politics really was the same, right? And a lot of that's just because who he had in his cabinet, who was in Congress, right? And so the problem is, as a reaction to that, because essentially the Democrats stole at least like half of their the 80s Republican platform, is then they changed their platform, and it's just this weird song and dance of swinging back and forth. But the problem you run into with the Democrats is they're a looser coalition than the Republicans are, and so they're not quite as in lockstep with each other, and so it's like this blob that's like trying to stretch in too many different ways.
I'm just like I said, this just really gnaws at me. In the Middle East, you have like the recent base attack. They used maybe a $50 or $100 drone, and they killed a few servicemen. We turn around and drop our like $500,000 bombs on them like it's no big deal. This is what I'm saying. It's just like it's unbelievable to me. This is all. It's all nuts. And anyways, I'm gonna go and run some errands and blow off some more steam. I'll listen to your Mark. So hey, everyone, have a good day. Buckley, you're the best. Evan, always great to hear your voice. And Bruce G, how about one more for you? Indoctrination. Go have another shot.
There you go.
Have a good one, George.
All right, have a good one, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
George could be president.
There it is.
George could be president.
Yeah.
So red watches.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, red watches. You're good.
Red watches. So, yeah, so in my opinion, best Speedmaster in the catalog right there. You don't need anything else, right?
Exactly. Hey, can you guys hold on the fort for 1 minute?
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Red watch.
Right.
Kind of a not a color that's used very often in watches.
I think people should. I think people are just too scared. It's just, it can be bold, especially if you get like a cherry sunburst or something really bright. But even then, just if you wear it with confidence, like you're supposed to be wearing it, like nobody will bat an eye,
Yeah. I own a red watch. It's cool. I think that the brands will start to work with that color more because, how far can you beat blue and green, you know.
Just beat it to submission. Right? Just beat it like he owes you money.
Blue, we kind of maybe 3 years ago we kind of hit the pinnacle of blue. Green
Yeah.
for the last couple of years has been going strong, but I think we have enough green at this point. Red, there's really nothing out there.
Yeah, at least very, very little mainstream. Like Rolex doesn't even offer that OP anymore, right? So it's
They
you
don't
get
offer
like
anything red.
yeah. So you have like this Omega, the Aquaterra. That's probably the largest example I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody in the chat will be like, "What about this brace?" Sure. But otherwise, you have like Oris as a cherry sunburst, but that's like $2,000. That's not like a brand with a lot. Like I like Oris well enough, but they're not relevant.
Patek doesn't do anything with red other than some gems.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, but that's like an unattainable watch for human,
Yeah.
basic humans. Yeah, between this Omega, you jump up very far. You'd have to go to an AP Jumbo.
Oh yeah, that's right. The 39 Jumbo Ultra Thin, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's like a watch. Like, who's getting that?
Yeah, they probably made like one just so they could put it on their website.
Yeah, I mean, Francois wears the Jumbo. He's been wearing the Jumbo for the last couple of months as his daily, but it's like,
Yeah,
like first of all,
the Defy Revival. Yeah,
16
they're
is impossible to get, and then throw that into a red dial. No way.
Yeah, it's yeah, well, and it's just nice to see color coming back, and because we've talked about this before, where watches is like one of the few things that's socially acceptable for dudes to wear as an accessory, right? It's man jewelry, right?
Mhm.
Let's be real. And pretty much ever since like the 1850s, that's really when men's style started to change to be just kind of like drab and boring and just black and gray, and it's before then, like I'm sure you've seen those those old timey photos of dudes with like big poofy shirts, and they look like a fucking bard, like a bard out of Dungeons and Dragons, right? And these colorful rainbow collars. That's just how dudes used to dress. It actually used to be considered very masculine to be very flamboyant and out there with that.
Right.
But just the definition of masculinity kind of like shifted, and now it became the stoic and cold, and it's just it's fun to see it become more acceptable. Just to kind of like have fun, right? Have fun with your style, have fun with your dress, right?
Well, and it's weird to say it this way, because Rolex in some ways is like the Catholic Church, where it takes them forever to make a change.
Yeah.
But when they did those color OPs,
Mhm.
all of a sudden everyone else said, "Oh, wait, we can do colors again."
I like
Like,
it in
it's
Rolex.
acceptable?
They're the Apple of the watch world, where like their design is very conservative, it's very clean, it's very streamlined, and they're kind of like the yardstick that everyone else is judged against. But yeah, once they accept something, all of a sudden everyone else just copies it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with somebody pretty high up at Rolex where we were talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Rolex is kind of like Apple, where they make a whole bunch of different watches and lines, and then they kind of shelf them for when they need to pull them. That's why you've been seeing so many interesting things the last 3 years. And literally, when Rolex did that with the OPs, everyone else came along and was like, "Oh, okay. Oh, red and yellow, pink,
Red,
Mhm.
yellow,
like
Tiffany
Tiffany
blue."
blue." Nobody even. This is the funniest part. Nobody even cared about Tiffany blue until Rolex made a
Until
Tiffany
they
blue,
did it.
which is
Mhm.
like, if you think about that, it's pretty insane.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden it was the color. Everyone had to have the Tiffany
Yeah.
blue.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
nobody
I think in a lot of ways, when they did those color burst styles, people were like gobbling them up, and other watch manufacturers were like, "Oh, it doesn't have to be black, blue, green, or white."
silver. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Gotta have fun. Gotta have fun. We need more
Yes.
color.
Too many black dials out there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
agreed. Black and blue, and I agree. Green is starting to get a little tired.
Yeah. I think you're going to see green kind of fade away a little bit, because
Yeah, or at least like just kind of become kind of like blue, where it's just like always a de facto option. You know,
Mhm.
it's not special anymore. I mean, I like what I think you brought up. Like, what if Rolex did like a purple dial date
Purple.
date?
Yeah.
Dude, oh my god, I'd buy the shit out of that if they had the like. I'd get that over the olive if they did like a 40 mil white gold.
White gold, royal purple dial.
Yeah.
It would be. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw it this year, because
Yeah.
everyone that I talk to about that can picture it in their head, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
I mean, they already have
Yeah.
a purple dial with that one lady date chest, right? And that's actually a really nice purple. It's just
Mhm.
they don't make it in anything bigger than a 36 with diamonds, right?
The thing
Right.
about Rolex is they have to make it in a shade with undertones that you can almost wear it with anything. Because
Yeah.
they're one of the few brands that you could reach for anything in the box that they make, and you can kind of pull it off. I don't know how they do it. Like, even with my Pepsi that's red and blue, it's
Mhm.
a red and blue watch, but at the same time, I can almost, like, I wear olive, it looks great. I wear white,
Yeah.
blue, black, like, it works.
Mhm.
I don't know how they do it. So with purple, I would think that'd be kind of a lengthy process, and that's probably why they don't have red. Because red, it would be really difficult to do that.
Yeah, because the
Yes.
closest they had was the old grape dial Oyster Perpetuals,
Yeah.
and those were
Mhm.
it was nice, but it was kind of more of a reddish purple, like a very different purple, Oh, hi, Sean.
Hey, Sean. By the way, that Breguet, you had me looking on the
Oh
site.
yeah, the classique.
Oh.
Oh man.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Good morning, all.
And I don't even
I
like
love this hot take Wednesdays, Sundays, man. I love it. It gets you going.
We call it, Sean. We call it Salty Sunday.
Salty Sunday. I like that. I like that a lot. Yes, for sure.
As opposed to
So-
self-destructing Sundays, just
Yeah, there you go. You guys were talking about Dandy. I'm gonna see if the useless little knowledge, but do you know where the word dandy came from?
No.
Have you guys heard of Beau Brummel? Brummel?
Mm-mm.
Okay. He was Beau Brummel was a gentleman in the late. He was born late 1700s in London, and if you actually go to Savile Row, actually if you go to James Street, where it's part of that whole area around in that area where there's a lot of gentlemen's suits, sartorial, and shoes and everything. A lot of gentlemen's fashion and stuff. There's a statue of him actually at the Piccadilly Arcade. So as you guys were talking about, back then in the 1700s, the high fashion men's fashion was they would actually have a lot of makeup on, more than women. Their faces were white. They would make their cheeks rose colored. They would put the wigs on. They would have all these, suits, the jackets, the shirts with a lot of ruffles on them and all that. It was very feminine, right? It was very feminine, ornate. So he was the first one that came in and actually started wearing a more of a simple outfit. He had the black top, the black or the gray pants with the high boots, and it became a lot more simpler, streamlined, clean, and not so much fluff on it. And the others would actually, the guys that would dress up on the streets, they actually they would make fun of him, and he actually I guess a couple of times he actually beat up on these guys. So he's the one that brought this new fashion, and he became Mr. Dandy. And so Beau Brummel, if you go to London, you go to James Street, and if you're around the Savile Row area, you go to Piccadilly Arcade, and by the way, at the corner of the James Street, you have Davidoff of London, and then you have you know, they have a lot of stuff, you know, a lot of name brands, English name brands that have been around 1700, 1800s, old names. And you'll see his statue out on the sidewalk looking into Piccadilly Arcade.
Very
So
cool.
there's a little bit of useless information I just wanted
little
to share.
history. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it.
They actually made a movie about the guy. He
I like it a
actually
lot.
ended up. He was very into fashion. He would have custom made suits, and he actually ran out of money. So he would borrow money to have the custom outfits made for him and all that stuff. And he actually died penniless. But he was high fashion, man. So, anyways, there you go. I just added a little bit of cool down water on your salty and sizzling Sunday. How's that? By the way, I love this Carrera. You guys know the gentleman. I think it's Ferrari 1967 or 1967 Ferraris. Sometimes he's one of the followers of Tim's channel. He got one of these, and then he also went and got the one just like I got, and he's got amazing collection. He's got Langes and Pateks and so forth. And I actually had one time I had about a pleasure of being on the phone with him for 45 minutes just chatting. But that is a gorgeous style on that Carrera.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
Sean, I don't mean to interrupt you here, but your audio is kind of burping. I kind of wonder if you want to try to close it out and reopen, see if that'll clear that up.
Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll just take this off. Let me see.
Let's see what we got there.
Is that better?
Ah, there you go. Much better.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. Anyways,
Ah,
okay.
we can understand you. It was just like this, making this.
Yeah.
background, like, boom, 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 boom,
Sorry
boom.
about that.
No, you're good.
Yeah, that is a beautiful timepiece right there.
Yeah, that Carrera is a beautiful watch.
But Tag Heuer
It's
didn't
not-
have the balls to not make it limited edition.
Yes.
Oh, this is not a limited edition? I thought it was.
No, it is. That's what I'm saying. They didn't have the balls to make it a regular one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's what 600 pieces. It says. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pretty watch.
Oh yeah.
There's a guy
I
had
do-
yeah. So when our finance manager is off, I handle that as well. And a guy came in the office the other day. I was signing him out. He had on a beautiful three-hand Carrera. Just a real
okay.
simple watch. Just a real
Yeah.
beautiful, real pretty watch.
Yeah. And you know, when you got somebody that wears that and you don't know the guy, you see that, you say, this guy may be a watch guy.
Might be a watch guy.
Yes, it's you don't stumble onto a three-hand Carrera, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You buy it with a purpose, right? The history, the name, or whatever, and so you must be a little bit of a watch nut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Dr. Bob, when you go on to Tag's website, it'll set the watch you're looking at to your time, and then you can also, like, I could stop the chronograph, I can
that's cool.
reset it. It's actually one of
cool.
the better websites. One of the better websites going.
Yeah. You know what, guys? You guys were talking about education and and all that stuff, and you're 100% right on. Education does not make a person with common sense and good judgment, right?
Right.
You have to have the person, be the woman or the man, that has a common sense and a drive to do something, accomplish something. And if that person has education, then whether it's because of the specialty that he or she is trying to pursue, or it's just just getting the general knowledge, even if it's history, geography, math, whatever it is, it all will enhance that person's overall knowledge and ability. I believe it can also even help you with having a more full perspective of where everything was and how we got here, which should help you in general. But it does not replace that person's drive and common sense. Hence, you have a lot of people that go to college, and unfortunately, they don't actually, they come out with less common sense, and they lose, and it's just unbelievable.
They
But
learned
I think,
the wrong lessons. Yes.
exactly. If you take a man and you say, okay, I will take a man without an education all day long that will make something out of him or herself, right? Without education. But if you and I'll, there are a lot of people that go and get education, come out and they do nothing. Like Buckley said, his friends that got education, they didn't. He's a lot further ahead than they are. If you have a man that has the drive, and then you provide the education, I'm talking about a higher level of education. You know what? It could be beneficial, because again, somehow, if you go to the right school, you have the right, you don't get one of these wacky professors, and you get somebody that you really admire, and you actually, they become your consultants, they become the guy that will guide you maybe even after college. They actually, you actually will learn, I think, it will help you to process things and I don't know, maybe be more of a clear thinker, but definitely, so education has benefits, but education is, in my opinion, is secondary, definitely to the man. I mean, there are a lot of great men out there that didn't have education, and they did great stuff, and that's the bottom line. Definitely, it's the bottom line.
And there's a lot of kind of like structural things that feed into this problem, and kind of going back to, so a lot of it starts with, like, to George's point earlier, where like certain skills aren't taught in high schools anymore, and what we, like, the problem we run into is, what are K through 12 schools anymore? They're daycare, right? So the parents can work, right? And unfortunately, that, like, and it's going to vary by school district. Like, so I went to school in actually a pretty good school district that did actually a pretty good job with curriculum and trying to like teach some of the skills, but not all of them are, right? And then, and the problem is you run into a situation where the parents expect the schools to teach some of these kind of like basic life skills that they should otherwise be learning at home, but the parents aren't teaching it. Either they're both working, don't have the time, energy, whatever. It's realistically, it should be their responsibility. But the schools become daycare, right? And so a lot of those skills like just aren't taught, right? And then looking at like why colleges push so hard is because on an individual basis, on average, for an individual, going to college increases earning potential. But when you apply that to a population, you get credential inflation, right? And so, and then, somebody looked at a stat that's just like, and so then you just get a bunch of folks that end up getting pushed into college when they're just not really college material. And that's not to say that like people that go to college are better than, no, it's just, it's its own atmosphere with its own set of skills that are needed and its own type of like motivation and drive, and just not everyone fits that mold, right?
You're 100% right, Evan. I listen, I came out of college, right, and electronic engineer, and yes, I'm one of those geeky guys that had what
you think you know everything, and you just complain a lot.
Yeah, I'm still a whiner. I'm still a whiner. So, but long story. I got into car business, and listen, when you get into car business, especially if you do live in New York, or you live in LA, or you live in maybe Pittsburgh, Chicago, and whatnot, you come across a lot of people from all over the world, different walks of life, and you learn how to communicate with them. You learn to read them, and you're exposed to a lot of nuances. So I truly believe that for somebody, if they don't really know what they want to pursue after they graduate from high school, they need to take time off, and they need to go and try to take a year or two. And I know sometimes it maybe you run the risk of, hey, not going back to school because now you're out of school. But I think it's better for you to run that risk. Have your kid a year, 2 years, go get a job at a car dealership so they can come across people. They can get a little bit seasoned, just like a cigar, humidor. You need to be seasoned. You can't just take the humidor out of the box, out of the wrapper, and then put cigars in it, because cigars going to dry out. And sometimes that's what we do. We take the kids out of high school right away. We put them into college, especially if you come from ethnic background where education has always been so important. But in this country, it's not, education is not number one. It's what you do with your life that's number one, which is the right priority. That's the way it's supposed to be. And then have that kid become seasoned a little bit, not so protected, not so pampered that they have no idea where they're going. They're just bunch of like a sheep. They just follow the rest of the herd from high school. They come out and they go and they'll either become a doctor, engineer, or a lawyer, right? So just have them do that, and then once they figure out what they want to do, now they're gonna go into college seasoned, more ready to absorb, more purpose, and they'll have a direction that they want to go forward. Then that education actually going to be put to good use, right? And it's not going to be wasted.
100%. I worked at Sears selling, I started selling tools, and then over college, and then went into automotive, right? And so I agree, having some sort of customer service, specific, or especially a sales type role, it teaches a lot of soft skills and kind of how to read people, right? And how to kind of work around and navigate through sometimes potentially very difficult conversations, right? I remember where this guy brings in a 30-year-old drill from the 80s, and the crafts, back in the day. For all these young people that don't know what Sears is, anyway. But the Craftsman hand tool warranty was only hand tools; it wasn't power tools. And so he wanted to get a free warranty exchange on this 30-year-old beat to shit drill. And so then when we told him he couldn't, he had to throw the fucking thing across the counter and walked out, right? And so you learn how to navigate some of these. And so I agree, but also a fun fact is they've done studies that show that this is aside from this. Studies that show that the best CEOs, the ones that end up with the most well-run companies and best rates of return, actually end up come from an engineering background.
You're good with numbers. Process oriented. But
I know.
Please go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, to your point, Sean. Also, if you take that year or two off, and you were saying that some people may not go and pursue their education. Maybe it wasn't for them.
Exactly.
Maybe they found their purpose outside of the educational system.
Exactly. And guess what, Mark? That spot, that kid that didn't want to be there in college and won't do anything with it, now is going to be open to somebody else that wants to get in but doesn't have the money or doesn't have the social status that can get in. If you fill up buses with people with no intention, no purpose to go from point A to point B, you just put people in the buses just because they see everybody else get into buses. Guess what? Not everybody going to be able to get into a bus to go where they need to go. Leave some seats available for people that actually have a purpose on a direction and they know where they want to go. They know where point B is, but that's not what we do. Why? Because again, I fall into that category. I've come from a ethnic ethnicity that education is very important, as it should be, but it's the status, it's the doctor. Thank God my parents were in one of those that said you have to become a doctor, because I tell you what, I cannot stand blood. I went and watched a movie with my dad. I was, I don't know, 10 years old, 9 years old, something like that, and there was blood, and in the middle of it we had to come out because I couldn't stand sight of the blood.
Okay, and if they wanted me to
It
be a
happens.
doctor, I would have been a miserable doctor. And I became an engineer because my dad was an engineer, because our family business from my mother's side. After my dad passed away, all my uncles were engineers and so forth, and they wanted me to be an engineer. So I came out here to be an engineer, and I got the education. I enjoyed numbers. I love numbers and all that, but engineering wasn't my thing. I was gravitated towards law. As a matter of fact, after I graduated from engineering, while working, I was trying to, I passed the LSAT. I wanted to go to law school, and at that time, I wasn't able to go. But I love law. I love business. So I think my thing would have been, if I would have taken the time after high school, if I would have had time to go and, let's say, go work at a car dealership for a year or two, come across people. These people come in, you fill out applications, you see engineers, you see doctors, you see lawyers, whatnot. Between them, you see, hey, how's this guy doing as far as materialistic stuff, income, level of life. Also, what are they like when you talk to them? Is this something I want to go down that path? But then after that, I would have said, yeah, I want to go and become a attorney, or I want to go and I want to go to business school. That would have been a better direction for me to go, rather than just go down the path of an engineer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because if that was my passion, I would have stayed in it. And it wasn't my passion, obviously. I just did it because I was told that's the way to do it.
I can easily argue that my first year in the car business taught me more about people and life than my 4 years at Penn State.
100%.
I think we need to start promoting like people, like high schoolers having jobs again, because it's really interesting when you see this new round of like interns and fresh out of college hires, and you could just tell they've never had a job before, and they just have really strange behaviors.
Yeah,
and it's like, part of it's just because of like going back to, because everyone's pushed to go to college, they've become increasingly competitive, especially for like, and also there's nothing wrong with a state school. Go to a fucking state school; it's cheaper, it's the same education. Once you get in the door, nobody gives a shit where you graduated from. But also, it's just so they're cramming full of all these extracurriculars, like Model UN and extra sports and multiple sports and debate club and Triple H or Triple H 4-H club. Yeah, or whatever, right? And because that's like what's beneficial to get you in is all these extracurriculars, but it's just like no, work a job, right? Learn at least a piece of the real world while you can in a safe environment,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Evan, this is what they should do. Hey, go get a job, and for every 6 months, or let's say for every year, when you go to college, this is the credit you get for the time that you actually work. Bring a proof that you got a paycheck for the last year or two, and this is how many credits you get.
I don't know about that so much as at least like, and it is actually viewed, people don't realize like having a job is viewed like an extracurricular on the application process, right?
Yeah.
So they actually very highly value folks that had jobs, because again, it shows some of those more well-rounded kind of skills, as well as that you can manage multiple things. It shows basically the same shit that like having all these extracurriculars does, especially if you can maintain good grades while doing it, right? Yeah. So I think we just need to push that, like, that needs to start being pushed is get people some real world experience early, because oh my God, some of these fresh out of college kids that just have never had a job before, it's interesting, and it's just wild, like no sense of professionalism, like an example that my wife had when she was kind of like a late like graduate to college. She was in the didn't really know what she wanted to do for a while, and then finally eventually graduated, and so she was probably like 5 to 8 years older than all the other like fresh out of college hires. And it's stuff like they're having like a welcome to the company kind of like happy hour thing, and the fresh out of college kids start ordering shots. And it's just like no like this ain't a party, this is a job.
No, exactly. And you know what else? What another benefit of it would be also is especially kids that are from affluent families. They never had to work, and they went to great school, high schools, and they're going to Ivy League colleges. When they come out, they are not in touch with reality and the common guy out there. If you go work now, you're more in tune with the real world. And when you come out, and if you finally and you actually go back to school and you make something out of yourself, you become very successful. You'll have empathy. You'll be able to connect with that regular guy on the street, and I think it would, for the society, it would be better.
Yeah, and also even the benefit of an Ivy League education isn't the education itself; it's the networking, right? It's the fact that you went to school with all these like heritage, legacy, millionaires' kids that like that's why a lot of the a lot of these internet startups were all like people that networked at Stanford, right?
Yeah.
Turns out when everyone you go to school with is a millionaire or billionaire, it's really easy to like sell their parents on an idea, right? When you went to school with their kid. So, I wish a lot of those folks talked to, like, I know it's known and the information's out there, but like the thing that chaps my ass is like, if you ever listen to NPR's like How I Built This, and it's all these, where they interview these like people that built these companies and stuff. It's really funny how all of them are just like, oh yeah, with a lot of hard work and determination and a $600,000 loan from my parents. My parents don't have the kind of money to loan me to start a business. Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Like that's always the story. It's always like, and I got a round of $1 million seed funding from my friends and family. It's just like they like gloss over that like really quickly. And like, yeah, don't get me wrong. Like there's a lot else that goes into it and being able to take calculated risks. But I feel like people don't talk about like the fact that they had a leg up. So.
No, it's true. It's, there's no right answer for like across the board, and that's part of the problem. But everybody thinks that you need to pursue it. Yeah, that's what we're almost, to use George's word, indoctrinated to believe these days. But there's a lack of, I worked all my life. I had a paper route. I worked at an amusement park when I was 15. I worked at a grocery store my first couple of years of college. I just always had jobs.
Yeah.
My parents were middle class people. And if I wanted extras, I had all the basics. I didn't want for anything, but if I wanted extras, I had to work, and that was just the way it was,
Yeah. Man, this is a gorgeous one.
That is a beautiful IWC. It is.
You can just dive into it.
Yeah, it's just so pretty. I figured George Varghese was gone. I can put an IWC on the screen without getting yelled at. He's not the biggest IWC. Well, he says his problem was not really the IWC, but the boutique he went to, or the AD he went to, wasn't very good. But I do love my new IWC.
That's all that matters.
Congrats, beautiful.
It's so light. The titanium is so light.
I love it when you get a watch. I love it. You know all the photos that you post. All the different places you're at. I love it. And it's cool because you can tell you're by your keyboard at your desk, or you're out on the showroom, and all of a sudden that watch all of a sudden catches your eye, and for you take the photo, but like no matter whether it's that customer that had an issue with their brand, or his daughter's brand new Chrysler that he got, or whatever the issue is. You just take a momentary rest, for like 20 seconds. You're like, everything shuts down, and you just go into a different world, and then you'll come right back.
Yeah,
it's just it's great. And that with this watch that I got last night, that 2-second little register that's at just past the noon marker. It's I know that's because that the very first time I put it on, and I noticed that a salesperson showed me the SA showed me the and told me what it is. I'm going, oh my God, if I ever own this watch, that thing is whenever I look at it, that would be the first thing on that watch I'm gonna notice every single time. And so far, like this morning, I had it next to my bed. When I woke up, I picked it up, and I looked at it just to see if it's still going around.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's just the way it is. You know, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned the picture, Sean, because there's times when I take a picture, and I'm like, Sean will know where I'm at. if anybody understands where I'm at and what I'm doing at the moment, it would be Sean.
And then when you take the picture, especially if you're in the showroom, you're in the work environment, who cares about outside? But don't you go, man, these guys probably think I'm a nutcase.
Yeah, exactly. I like, you know what, but I buy things that I love and that I want to wear, and you get sometimes you look at it, you're like, man, this thing makes me happy. Now snap a picture of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's really
somebody
cool.
said, I think, in fact, Looking Glass, this watch isn't made anymore, but this one's on Chrono 24 for 10.5, but Looking Glass said, I believe it was him. He commented on one of the pictures of my Zenith a couple weeks ago. He said that watch never takes a bad picture.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, you're right.
That's beautifully said. Yeah, is that a white gold, by the way?
This one, I think, is.
Yeah. So beautiful.
Oh no, it's steel.
Oh, it is.
It looks white gold.
Interesting.
It really does. Yeah, it's a pretty watch.
It's gorgeous watch. Are you kidding me? If you have the wrist for it, how big is that thing? 42?
That is a 42.3.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It would be big. That would be perfect for you as a dress. That's perfect for you.
I mean, you can always treat it like, instead of stealth wealth, be like stealth poor and just tell people it's white gold.
Exactly. White gold. Just put a little weight on the back of it, so if somebody picks it up, they go, "Oh, yeah, it's heavy."
And what I love is those hands. The hour hand is stretched. That minute hand is all the way to the edge. I mean, it's so beautiful.
A very old school kind of classic dress watch look.
And look at those lugs. They're short, but they're it's beautiful. It's almost like FP Journe-esque, a little bit more stretched than FP Journe, but what a gorgeous watch.
Yeah, there's so many beautiful watches. It's hard to get bored, you know.
So smart for them to also have that date in red background with white numerals, because it's not.
I really appreciate when they do that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate when they do that. There's some so like Evan, your Speedmaster 57 has black date, but it's that fume dial kind of effect where you have that black outer ring, you have the black rings on the sub dials, so it doesn't like stand out.
It adds a nice contrast, yeah. And then the red is very it's not a maroon but it's darker. It's like a brick red, right? Like and it's flat, right? So yeah, I agree. I think it's nice that they did not do a sunburst like they did with the green and the blue.
I agree, and I think that's one of the things that makes that the standout of that line.
Yeah. And to respond to Dr. Bob's nightmare, it's not really gambling if it's a guarantee. Come on, right? It'll come up tomorrow, you know. Like,
you and your bathrobe are like Hugh Hefner and his. He also had bathrobe, right? He also had.
Big old long smoking jacket. Yeah, it was.
But it was much more the silk pajama guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, and it goes back a long time. So, like, tooting my own horn, card carrying Eagle Scout. But at like summer camp, there was one summer camp where I went to. I did the lifeguarding program, and so I had my BSA lifeguard. And because I was at the pool literally every day for like pretty much all day, I literally walked around summer camp in a bathrobe.
Oh wow,
yep.
That's cool.
That's funny.
So
that's
IWCs can be a little thick. They can be a little thick, but I mean, it's a big watch in general. So it's 53.5 lug to lug, a little over 43 on the diameter. So it's not a small watch. I don't mind it being thicker, because it's just the way it is. But somebody was mentioning the thickness of the IWCs. They do make some chunky monkeys. That is for certain.
And by the way, guys, take a look at that strap. You see how it's bolstered, but it's flat bolster rather than a round
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
You know that's how Vacheron Constantin was, and on the historic that I had, the chrono, that's how it was. When I went and ordered one from them, it came with the rounded one, because now I guess maybe it's because what do you call it, the what's the French strap maker that I went and got some made. They're making Vacherons now.
Jean Rousseau.
Jean Rousseau, yeah. But
Yeah.
I love it when it's like this, when it's kind of like
Mhm.
flat, especially on bigger pieces. It just looks better
Yeah.
than the rounded bolster.
I agree.
It looks chunky. It looks like more substantial. What a beautiful piece. What's wrong with us?
It's
Oh,
true.
I know.
Why
It's
do
like
we drool over every? It's just like, my God, geez.
I'm pretty sure it's a form of brain damage, right? Just
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
like once again, because it never goes away. It's like once it happens, it's just there forever.
You know, Ryan
just
James,
bought-
if you're watching, if Ryan James is watching, listen, learn from what we are saying. Be careful. I know you're gonna go down.
Get out now.
Somebody put something about the rabbit hole here. You know, I hope somebody made a comment on the chat, but I'm telling you, yeah, just be very careful, because, and you have to step back. Like I was talking to my wife, I said, you know, the next thing I get is, the only thing that right now is on my radar is the FP Journe. Whenever it comes, that's the one I want to get.
Yep.
And then obviously you guys showed the red dial, and you guys remind me that, you know, the date with the cherry red, ruby red dial.
Oh yeah.
Like with the super oyster. If that comes, you know, I'm gonna snap one of those. But I wanna enjoy my watches. Take a breather and enjoy.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you'll be like that tourist that goes, let's say, to Europe for 2 weeks, and in every city only stays one night, because they want
Yep.
to see whole Europe in 2 weeks. And when they come
Mhm.
back, it's just like they've never even been to Europe, because they never took the time to really enjoy and get the places they were to. And sometimes with me, at least, that's how I feel. Like, shit, I'm acquiring. Take it easy, slow down a little bit. And that's how I used to be before I started watching the YouTubes, and and then later on, getting involved in the community. That's how I was. I would spread it out a little bit more, and but I don't want to become a consumer. I don't want to become a just collecting and consuming. I want to really enjoy these pieces and have them have meaning. And if you go through them too fast, it won't be. So it's best to just take your time and pace yourself.
I agree. Like this year, I've actually sold off a few things because I was kind of running into things where like there was I was starting to get watches in the box that I'd bought, and then I was just like felt like I had to force myself to wear them. It's just other things I just enjoyed wearing more. And so I definitely think I was like, I think I only had like 8 or 9 like serious watches, and then I'm just like, okay, this is too much because I'm only wearing like 3 of them.
Reference number. Let me check real quick.
I think that's the white gold with the super oyster.
Oop. I'm trying to pull this one up. Let's see. I believe.
Yeah, that's that one is. I'm not sure if that's no. I think it's. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's a 238. I think what reference number was that you just pulled up?
That was a 118209.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they also make this with like a super oyster bracelet, so it's like it's like an oyster bracelet with like the hidden with the hidden clasp instead of the regular clasp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it may be is that a 208? Oh, hold on a second, let me see. Might be a 208, but that's close enough. That was. Oh, look at that dial. That thing is beautiful.
It's so pretty. It's beautiful
So
watch.
Oh, yeah.
gorgeous.
That's such a
It's
nice
you
red.
know it's funny because it's a classic watch, but the red gives it just a little bit of character, you know.
Mhm.
And it's a red that would go really good. Here, I'm a geek with a navy color
Yeah,
suit. You know what
I
I
agree.
mean?
It's just a little bit purpley. It's almost it's like
Exactly.
a yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a hint of blue in there a little bit.
So Ryan James says he's committed to no more watches though for at least 6 months. We all say that, Ryan.
Yeah,
We
I know.
all say that.
That's right. Yeah,
And by the
You
way,
do
Never
for
over.
somebody
You I
that
have.
just got his watch to say at least for 6 months, you're already down the path, man.
Yes. Exactly.
If you would have said, I'm going to wait a couple
Exactly.
of years, okay, then I would have bought your line. But no, you're already down the rabbit hole, man.
Yeah.
You got to enjoy it.
You're
Happy for you, Ryan.
I literally I've had this one for 2 weeks and I'm already find myself looking around going, "Oh, that's a nice looking watch. I never considered." Yeah, I'm like, "Oh, here I go." Yeah. How
You know
do you
what's
stop?
Yeah, do you know what's the amazing thing is sometimes you go back to your watches and then like especially if you have watches with straps because you could change straps, right? Like
Yeah.
you know, I've had my white gold Daytona with a slate gray dial. What is it, 9 years now? I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
9 years. 2015, and then I have a lot of different straps. I had a dark chocolate strap Rolex and all that, and the strap that I just got recently, a couple of months ago from Rolex, with the contrast white stitching. It just somehow brings out the gray and the red, and I'm wearing it more
Yeah.
than I wore it in the past 4 years. You know,
Oh, wow.
more than that in 5 years, probably 6 years, and it's just you go and rekindle that love you have with that watch. You know, you go back to it, and it's just pretty cool.
One of the cool things with my Zenith is every once in a while I'll throw it on the rubber strap that it came with, and it just makes it feel like a different watch.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's got that
100%.
easy exchange, so it's just like takes 2 seconds to do it, and you're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, completely different watch now.
Is Ryan East Coast or West Coast?
He's in Colorado, isn't he?
Oh,
Is he?
Yeah. I thought he
Right
said
next
last
to
night
you
he was in Colorado.
I was kind of tuning in and out. I was doing this
Yeah.
with friends. I was gonna say that looks very Colorado. I don't know where though.
Yeah.
we got a few people in Colorado.
Yeah. Where
That's pretty cool.
without doxing yourself, what part of Colorado?
Yeah. I will say that my Zenith originated in Colorado, as did and this one was shipped from Colorado.
Yeah, cause God, what's his name? Oster Jewelers was the Zenith dealer here.
Yeah, that's
and then
who that came
he
from.
he lost, or like I guess he no longer does Zenith, and then Hyde Park, which is now the 1916 company. If you listen to Tim Masso, is okay, yeah, in the Denver Metro. Dude, find me on Instagram. We should grab a beer.
There you go. I did have the Polar 300. I traded that when I did my reconsolidation, and I like that watch, but of the two Omegas, I wore it less than the Aquaterra, and I think it's a little bit lesser of a watch because it's the 8800 movement instead of the 8900 movement, and I like the jump hour feature, even though I really haven't traveled anywhere lately. But I like that feature, and I like the kind of go anywhere, do anything of the Aquaterra more. So I gave up to 300, but it's a beautiful watch. That white dial, that polar dial 300M professional is gorgeous.
No, it's beautiful. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
But I don't really miss it. I like the other stuff that I have better. So it was a good choice to move on from that one. 'Cause I don't pine for it or anything, I don't look at the box and go, oh, I wish I had that 300. I like the other Omega better. I like the Zenith better. I like the IWC, the Longines, and the big four, if you will, for right now.
And Longines does not get the respect they deserve. Like, yeah, like I give them shit for their 5-star AliExpress rating or Alibaba rating or whatever,
Yeah.
but like they have a storied history. Like they used to win chronometer trials, right? Like they were like big dick on the block for like a long time.
A long time.
And it's funny because we kind of, I think we were talking the other night, like what happened with Omega. Honestly, what happened with Omega is they became Swatch, right? They became they went corporate. It used to be cool, man, and then they trimmed off the mullet, and then
you said mullet because I put up my 2021 pictures on that the other day.
Yeah. But yeah,
My
but that's kind of the thing, and like I get it, right? They, when we talk about like their catalog is just too big, and they're trying to be all things to all people, like they're trying to what they call it in the movie industry, where they're trying to hit like all four corners for I forgot somebody who's a movie buff would understand, like for marketing, where you're trying to hit like all the demographics, and I think that's the problem they run into is they're trying to be too many things to too many people, and so when you do that, yeah, they sell a lot of watches, but like in the eyes of like the enthusiast, you're kind of if you're all things to all people, you're nothing to nobody. So
exactly.
You guys are too young to remember, but I remember when I was younger, I was a kid. Back then, Longines was a prestigious brand.
Oh yeah,
And, yeah, and now people look at it as as a Macy's or
mall brand,
mall brand.
Yeah,
but
kind of a like
Longines-
a step over entry level, like a little step over entry level.
Yeah, and it's a legit. It's got tradition. It's got history, and it was. And I'm so glad. I don't know. I don't know who's running the show right now at Longines, but they're definitely coming up with some really cool watches. And I've always respected Longines. I mean, and for the price point, Evan, you can't beat it. It's legit. Quite frankly, I think Longines, if at some point when I grew up, where I was growing up, it was in Iran. It was Omega was the king, and from what I hear, in Germany, Omega was the king. In England, it was Rolex, right? But and then aside from Omega, it was Longines. I remember that they used to talk about. It was Omegas and Longines, and it was always the affluent were the ones that were talking about Longines. It had a little
pre-Swatch Mega. Like Omega was the expensive brand. Omega was like what we think of Rolex now, right? Like what people wanted, and Rolex was the cheaper alternative, right? For the longest time. And so it's kind of interesting that the roles have flipped.
When you go after mass production, that's what happens, and it's amazing that Rolex is the number one selling watch brand out there, and they haven't lost that, right? They haven't lost that luster, and as many as watches as they sell, they still have that feeling of exclusivity about them, and it's all about advertising.
Well, and also I think Rolex Oyster case is like the most like it is a wristwatch distilled down to its purest form. Like an Oyster Perpetual is like if you just picture a watch in your head, right? That's like essentially an abstract out the elements. It's an Oyster Perpetual, right? Like it is. They have created like the perfect generic form factor, and they've polished it too like they're giving it that shinjitsu polish, you know. But and essentially, and when you make the same watch over and over again, you get really damn good at it. And I think that's what it comes down to is they basically make like 2 watches, right? They make the sub and the oyster and the Datejust, right? And effectively, those are functionally like you can abstract the rest of all of their watches, except for maybe the president. But like all of the rest of the watches are like those 2 watches, right? Just in slightly different configuration, but like the case is functionally going to be the same, right? The movements are going to be the same. And so the problem with Omega is they're mass produced, but they have so many different makes, models, colors, styles, and stuff. So you end up in this position where it's like when you go to a restaurant, it's like when you go to like a diner or like a restaurant, you look and they've got like this 20-page menu, and each page has got like size 10 font of all their stuff. You just know that like nothing on the menu is going to be good, right?
Yeah. 100%.
And then you go to like one of those, and you go to like some place that has like 5 items. You're like, yeah, there's not very many options here, but each one's going to be incredible, you know?
Yeah, how about all these special editions, limited editions, and all of that stuff? It just shows
it cheapens the brand.
They're trying too hard. Exactly, they're trying too hard. And you know, I'm an Omega fanboy, right? I love Omegas, and it was my second watch, but my first watch that I'm keeping. I've kept my oldest watch ever is an Omega, so I'm a big fan. And I'm telling you, to this day, that watch holds better time than my Rolex. It's amazing.
Oh yeah,
and the watch.
I mean, to be fair,
it was gifted to me in 1976. 1976. That thing's going to be in 2 years going to be 50 years old, and it's only been serviced twice.
I love old Omegas because when they used to copper plate their movements, if you ever crack the case back open, it is stunningly pretty.
Yeah,
and you can still send those into Omega. They will still service those and give you and like put, if they have to replace parts, you'll get copper plated parts back.
Yeah. You know, going back to your comment about Swatch and you know, Omega got ruined when corporate took over. I made a comment last night. I'm so glad Swatch did not do that with Breguet. I think they looked at Omega as a cash cow for themselves, versus Breguet to them was, hey, this is the brand that's going to give us some what do you call it, credibility in the higher levels of watchmaking, and I think his son that's running it, I think they had genuine admiration for the history of Breguet, even with the Mr. Hayek Senior. I think they just respected so much that going in they said, hey, with this brand, it's not about the money. And I don't know how they're making money. I'll be honest.
I wish they. Well, I just wish they would advertise them more. Like bring back the public consciousness, right, of Breguet. But part of it is, I believe Breguet, like one of the pieces of their business is they service old like Rose engines, right? So because most of the Guilloche machines, they're like original, like 70, 100-year-old Guilloche machines, right? So that's part of what Breguet does is they service those machines for.
Yeah, and because they keep on coming back with really cool stuff with the movements, because making the movement and bring out, that's expensive. And you have, and if you don't make a lot of them, you don't sell a lot of them, it remains expensive. The way you bring down the cost is through scale, right? You just make more of them, and they're not after volume. They're not pumping out volume, and it just tells you. God bless them. They got the money, but they also have, I think I'm glad that they are the ones that took over and not somebody else, because all of these brands got gobbled up, right? Unless you're AP or Patek, but even Vacheron got gobbled up, and I'm glad that Swatch got it as far as Breguet is concerned, because they did it right.
What do you think of Glashütte Original as a brand?
You're asking Evan and I?
Yes.
I think I think for somebody that wants to get that Langave type feel from the watch, but doesn't want to spend the money, or they can't spend the money. I think that's the purpose. It doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
Quite frankly, It doesn't do it for me. What was it? They had a line that was called the Senator. I think that's the I
Yeah.
like that. I like their Senator line, but the rest of them they don't do much for me.
Yeah. The problem with the Senator line is they're huge. It's like a dress
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah,
It's like 42
exactly.
mils big, 44, and it's just like no, like make it like 39, right? And then even the panoramic
don't
lunar.
get on Mark's shit list. Don't say that. Don't get on Mark's shit.
Well, no, it's a dress watch. Dress watches need to be comparatively smaller than like sports watches, right? I'm not saying make it a 34, but like, but yeah, but it's just, but even their panoramic lunar, like it's funny because you can get those secondhand for like $6,000, right? Like
Yeah,
I see them
yeah.
all the time on Reddit for $6,000 or $7,000 when I think retail's like 11.
Yeah.
It's like Diet Long a feel, and it's like I want to like them, but like man, I just can't get down to the price point like that they're retailing for.
Yeah.
Also, I don't like the dick hand on the CQ.
The dick hand is a little hard to adjust to.
What brought up the Glasuta?
Oh, someone in the chat.
In the chat. Okay.
Well, actually, we were talking about how Breguet
Oh, no, yeah.
was gobbled up by Swatch and not changed, and I thought Glasuta they don't really.
Yeah,
really do
they
much of
leave them
anything with
alone
Glasuta.
to do their own thing.
Yeah.
I think the problem is partly again, it's just while I agree with you that they kind of let Breguet alone to do their own thing, but it like almost in a like they're being neglectful kind of sense where they're like letting it die on the vine. And I feel like they need to, if anything, put more resources, especially into just like brand awareness, right? Because we're all watch geeks and we know this shit, right? We know. Abraham Louis Breguet and and how he John Arnold gave him the idea for the Tourbillon, and then so we know that, right? But your average person doesn't know shit for Shinola, right? So not using example from Tim's stream, right? The girl that was on, right? Like she's obviously like knows nothing about watches, which is fine, right? Like, but she's like a textbook example of a normal person, right? They don't know anything. Right? Doesn't even know anybody that wears watches, right?
Exactly.
So.
And then also
get the brand name out
is
there.
Nomos. Nomos.
Yeah.
Does her own independent, makes her own movements in house. I just don't like the aesthetic of their watches. I respect the brand. I respect what they're doing aesthetically.
Listen, if I had a kid that was gonna go to college, or if I had a kid that just just entered the job market, and I wouldn't mind getting him the watch, because I think it's I think it's a real watch, and I think it's hip and clean and young enough that would appeal to a younger generation. It is not looked at as a stuffy old man's watch, but it doesn't appeal to me. But I think it's got an appeal of its own for certain market. I think.
Yeah. It's. I mean, the movements are great. I respect what they're doing. I just when I see them, I'm like, it just looks like a watch to me. It doesn't look like it's not one of those ones that makes me go, ooh.
Yeah, well, and they operate at a tough price point, like similar to like Longines, similar to Aura, man, that $2,000 to $4,000 price point is just it's weirdly hyper competitive for a market segment that nobody cares about, right? And like I know like that's kind of tough, but you're in that for a little bit more. I could get a blank, right? And so granted, Oyster Perpetuals aren't like super available at the moment, but like eventually I'm sure they'll come back down to earth. But it's like you're in that like for like $1,000 more, I could get an Oyster Perpetual, right?
Right.
And that's it's so they're not just competing with each other; they're competing with like 6 more months of savings.
Lower end, right? Yeah.
And you could have like something with a lot more brand prestige, and it sucks. I don't want to think of it that way, but they just kind of live there, and it's hard because they can't really push up, because then you get the people like, why is there a $6,000 Nomos? They don't quite have that kind of brand cachet. So
Yeah.
like I feel for these brands, and I do want them to be successful. Like obviously I don't, I'm not a big fan of all this Kickstarter micro brands that start up out of nowhere that just slap a bunch of Chinese watch parts together with a Miota
Right.
movement and then call it a micro brand. But like
Yeah.
I mean, like Nomos, like they've got legit chops. It's just it's hard to like really care about them seriously. And unless you just have like enough money to have like disposable throwaway watches at like $3,000 to $4,000, right?
Yeah.
I would
No, I
rather get
agree.
a Longines. To me, Longines is. I would get a Longines before I would get a Nomos.
Oh, 100%.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
really
save
trying
money
not
too.
to just buy an Ultracron this year when I'm trying to save for a day date. So
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Ultracron comes up in my feed all the time.
So
I do
good.
like that watch. It's so good. It's such a good watch. It's
How
not
much
that
is this
expensive.
thing, by the way? Mark, how much is
this one, I want to say it's like what,
I think they're
2,500.
like no, I think they're in the mid to high threes now.
Really? Man,
Yeah.
like, and I like this petrol dial. I like the color.
I
but
like the petrol. Yeah. This article's from November. Let's see if they have pricing in here.
Awesome Paulins is 3,500. Man, that is just a
3,500.
tough value proposition because they're making
it
their own
is.
movements, but their movements are basically just clones of ETA movements because in the
Right.
early 90s, like that's like basically how ETA used to, but when they would still sell externally, like more readily, what would happen is they would only most of their movements were allocated for Swatch brands, right? And then essentially what was left over. And then if they just ran out of movements to sell in like September, you're just shit out of luck until they get to the next year, right? And so that's
Yes,
why
right.
Nomos started making their own movements, is because they didn't want that instability, right?
Yeah.
But essentially the movements, because like ETA like no longer has the patents for those movements, like they're open, right? So everyone and their mom. Same thing with Sellita, like their Sellita movements are just clones of ETA movements for the most part. Something wrong with it, but
For a
it's
little
just hard to
bit
justify
more,
$3,500. Oh god, I love this watch so
yeah.
much.
Yeah, it's
It's
beautiful.
so good.
You could for a little bit more than that Nomos, you could get a Seamaster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's where again, my point exactly. For a little more, you could get, I mean, at least
You
this
can
is
get
a
a much
5
better
hertz
one.
movement at like $3,500, right? So this actually
Right.
has some like because I think the closest you're going to get is probably a Grand Seiko at like what 5,500 with a high
Exactly.
beat.
With a high beat.
And that's going to be, just I don't know. I feel like Grand Seiko watches, if it weren't for their dials, they're like a generic watch in a bad way, whereas like Rolex is like a generic watch in polished to the definition of a watch kind of way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
All right. So Looking Glass says when I had a young person show up to work for me with some type of watch on automatic, secretly they already had bonus points in my book. What do you guys think? I agree.
I agree, especially if you are in a listen. Mark and I are in a business, people's business, and the people that you hire. And listen, the way I look at it, when I hire somebody and I let my department managers pick, they make the decision at the end, okay? But I am the last guy to interview them, and when I interview them, I'll give them my feedback, and then they are the ones that are going to decide to get or not. If I see a really major red flag, I'll let them know, hey, this is my red flag, and they'll call them back in and they'll talk to the individual or whatever. But one of the things that what I do when I talk to them, because I assume by the time they get to me, they know how to do that job. I'm looking at them, hey, is this person going to be a good partner for me? Whether that person is somebody that's a runner, a porter, or somebody that's going to be mid-level or one of my department managers, they all are my partners, right? So I want to see if that person is going to be a good partner for me. So when I see somebody coming in the short period of time, I'm trying to assess, take as much of the clues they're giving me to come up with that decision. Hey, is this a good partner or not? And when somebody comes in, a younger person comes in for whatever position it is, and they are wearing a watch that's not too flashy, it's not too gaudy, but it's a solid piece. It doesn't have to be an expensive piece, but
Mhm.
that is a small information about how this guy ticks.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
that would give me a clue how that person may act out there, how that person's going to treat and respect the assets that we have provided them to do their job, and
Mhm.
how is that person going to behave within the culture that we have in our organizations. And whether it's right or wrong at the end, whether my judgment call is right or wrong, it's a different thing. But we do grasp to as many clues as we can. Try to, take that pixelated picture and make it as refined as possible, whether or not this person
Mhm.
gonna fit or not. And yes, so Looking Glass, yes, definitely, that's a
Right.
clue. If somebody comes in with an Invicta too flashy, they're just trying hard, and that's not
God.
the kind of a personality I want with the clientele I have. I want a understated, subtle, elegant, smart, person out there trying to, interact with the clientele I have, and also with the people that I already have there working in our team. So yeah,
Mhm.
definitely, I'll take that as a clue.
I think this would look better on a beads of rice bracelet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful,
There's
beautiful
no.
piece.
Yeah, it's a beautiful watch. I don't think there's any taper on the bracelet. That's probably, if I had a criticism, that would be it. It kind of has that Seamaster vibe.
Yeah, black, silver, and red. Isn't that just a dynamic
It's hard to beat.
combination?
Mhm.
I mean,
hard
it's
to
just
beat.
beautiful. It just, no matter what it is, it just grabs you. I mean, here, I would have loved as much as the green hand on the black GMT is beautiful. Can you imagine a black
With
GMT
red.
with a red hand?
Yeah,
Yep.
there's somebody did a quick Photoshop job where like they're wondering if they'll make like essentially the Guinness in stainless steel. Could you like the black and gray
You're
bezel
cutting
and,
it out with your audio.
oh,
Or is
sorry.
that me?
Is this better? We're getting.
I got you.
All right. Like,
Yeah,
so could you? Yeah, sorry. This mic's highly directional. Sometimes when I'm like talking away from it, it'll it'll stop picking me up.
Beautiful, man.
But yeah, but could you imagine like a stainless steel version of the Guinness, the black and gray bezel, and maybe like a red GMT hand?
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
That would be slick.
Yeah.
Awesome Pawan says, "Will a guy wearing a Rolex impress Sean for the job interview?" I guess it depends on the
Oh
job.
yeah. No. Listen, Rolex is definitely an impressive watch. I'll tell you what's going to be not good is if I can tell if it's a fake one.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
And I had somebody that came in with a fake 5711, and
Oh.
actually
Ooh.
it's fine. We actually ended up hiring him, and then good kid and then he I'm saying kid, he's in his early 30s, and he's been with us now for about 2.5 years. Great guy, and after he was hired, after we didn't want to bust his balls right away, but the sales manager pulled him aside, and after he was there for like a month or so, and he says, "Hey, one recommendation, your 5711, you may want to wear it after work, because the people that come here, they'll know if it's real or not."
Yes.
Yeah.
It is
True.
just one-on-one. And guess what the kid did? After about a year or so, he saved money, and he got, as a matter of fact, that's the watch that I had on my wrist, and I took a photo with the car with the hood emblem, the roundel on it. He got a Datejust silver with the
Beautiful.
Jubilee and the blue dial.
Oh wow.
As a matter of fact, yesterday at work, he was wearing it. I said, "Let me wear that thing," and I took a picture. It's such a great watch, and
It's a great watch.
So, and that 5711
That is great.
fake, you could tell from a mile away it was fake. It was so bad.
That's the worst. Yeah.
I think he threw it away.
It's the worst. I'm not an Invicta guy, so I would not be impressed by an Invicta Pro Diver or Submariner copy. Yeah,
Mark,
I'd rather
Mark,
bought
it's, Mark, if an Invicta, if somebody wants to buy it, that's great, that's fine. But if you go and get the gold-plated one and try to get one that's
Yeah.
just
Not a fan of someone
tries
walking
too
with a Zeus
hard.
bolt.
And listen,
Yeah.
listen. You know, if I'm a kid and and I'm or if I got other obligations and I want to get a watch that looks like some of the more expensive watches, hey, that's
Yeah.
fine. Get it. It's just that don't get
Right.
one that's so loud.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just
Exactly.
like, hey, if I cannot afford a new car or expensive car, and I'm driving a older car, maybe a Corolla, Sentra, whatever it is, a Malibu. Don't go to Pep Boys and buy every freaking Wilwell molding, Dorage guard, fake intake plastics to put on the sides, pinstripes. Don't do that. Don't bring attention
Right.
to it. If you're gonna wear something like that, just don't bring extra attention to it. Just
Make it
keep
subtle.
it clean.
Right.
Just keep it clean. Just
Yeah.
keep it clean. And that's true with anything, right? Just keep it clean.
Cool. So we're coming up on 3 hours here, so we're gonna be cutting out here in about 10 minutes. So I can get on with my day. You guys got anything else you guys wanted to talk about while we have a couple minutes?
No, this was a what do you call it? The sizzling, salty Sunday, right? Sizzling,
Sunday.
spicy, salty Sunday. Okay. Actually, my wife is telling me that she's got my breakfast ready, so I'm gonna I'm gonna say goodbye because she's got it ready for me on the table. So, anyways,
Speaking of
I know-
breakfast,
oh my
that's how we
God, look
started
at-
the show.
let me show this to my wife. Shima, this is Mark. Mark has look at Mark. This is him. That's his breakfast, and the food that he makes is just. She goes. This is good. It's amazing, no?
Yes, it's very tasty.
Very tasty.
Bon appetit.
Bon
Very
appetit.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Mark, I was
Mark.
going to tell you about something I made the other day that turned out really good. They're called Sagan dolmas, I guess. They're like
Okay.
it's instead of like a typical dolma that's like wrapped in grape leaves. It's it's like a stuffed onion instead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, super good. I'll send you the recipe if you're interested. It was actually super
Absolutely,
easy
yeah.
to make. It's just got like a 2-hour bake time.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm always
Okay.
looking for ideas. You sent me that thing about the sourdough
yeah,
starter.
Yeah, super easy.
Pancakes.
And then,
Oh,
yeah.
that sounded incredible with the rosemary and jeez.
Yeah, instead of just
Man.
throwing away the discard when you have to feed your sourdough start, just fry it up like a
Yeah.
pancake, and then you get this really tart kind of
Yeah,
savory pancake. It's great.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
that-
I have
that
to
sounds
go.
awesome.
Want to
Yeah.
say goodbye. And Brian, you're a legend. I love you. His BMW let him down on the way to Florida. Oh my God. I feel for the man and Mrs. Brian. All right, guys. Have a
Yeah.
great Sunday. Take care.
Have a
Bye
good
bye.
one.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Mark. Bye bye.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, see you. Good dude.
Oh, yeah.
Well, probably the coolest thing about this stupid little show I do is just getting to chat with people. I literally feel like I have friends all over the country and the world. It's kind of fun. So
You get to put up with me coming on and pretending like I know things. It's great.
oh my God, you're the best.
Just ramble
I
on
can't
about...
wait. Are you going to New York or Vegas next year? This year? This year, I guess?
I'm debating if I want to go to one, the other, or both.
Okay.
If I'm going to go to one, I'm probably going to go to New York.
Okay.
Vegas is not really my scene. I've never been, but
Gotcha.
I'm not a big, loud, flashy activity kind of person.
Gotcha.
But so I just want to figure it out. Mostly, I just want, like, if I'm going to meet the people, right? Like, I don't give a shit about Vegas, right? I don't care. I
Yeah.
don't gamble. I don't have anything against gambling. I just don't gamble.
Mhm.
And I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to gauge because So New York is easier for me because
Closer.
It's closer and it's not the so Vegas. I'm assuming same kind of time frames. It's not the last weekend of the month, which is always important in the car business. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking of New York over Vegas for that reason. But
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to say you were going to New York, 'cause I would love to meet you in person.
Yeah, I'm leaning New York more than Vegas. Also because if we can get a large enough crew, we can push out all the hodings. It'll be great.
Yes, absolutely.
Just for Buckley, because then we'll show up and they'll be like 6 feet tall, like 120 pounds. And then, we'll just shove them out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so that'll be a good time. Yeah. We'll have I'll bring smoking jackets for the late evening cigars.
That's right. Yeah, but I'll bring my purple smoking jacket. I was gonna at some point I need to get there's a piece of luggage that I've seen that I want to get where it's like a suit bag that rolls up into like a leather carry bag and you fit like a pair of shoes, like something like a suit jacket or two, and then like a couple pairs of like socks, underwear, shirts, pants type thing. Just roll it up and then it just kind of like rolls up into like a leather bag, like carry bag. So I was thinking about picking up something like that because I don't have any like suit bags right now.
Oh, okay.
So, Dr. Bob, if you come, I have a gentleman's one-time single-use unlubricated monocle. Have you seen those?
There you go.
This is a gag gift from let's see, use monocle. This is like super old. I'll drop it in the private chat if you.
Okay.
So the ad is incredible. This was like a Kickstarter from like a decade ago, and I just thought this was a fun gag gift.
Oh yeah.
You should play the video. It's hilarious. Scroll down. Keep scrolling.
Oh,
there you go.
I love the names. That's great. That's awesome.
Chris, you're too
Oh my God.
God.
This is so good. Single-use unlubricated monocles. That's so fucking good.
Oh man, dude, the internet 10 years ago was a wild place. So much better.
What's
today.
that?
The internet 10
Oh
years
my
ago
God,
was so
yeah.
much better today.
Oh yeah.
Wild West. All right.
Hey,
On
Dr.
that
Bob,
note,
you could say
I
he's
think
cockeyed.
that's right. All right. On that
All
note,
right, folks.
I need to go clean. So thanks for
All
thanks for
right.
letting me on, Mark. Always a pleasure.
Hey, thanks for coming on. Always
Yeah.
good to have you. We're coming up on pen time here again, so
Mhm.
we'll do some pen talk. But that was great. Thank you for sharing that. And guys, thanks for coming over. I believe Diego's running exercise stream. If everybody needs more watch contact, you can head on over to the community channel. And I appreciate everybody for coming over. We'll give one last look at my breakfast because it was my breakfast. It was delicious. And Dr. Bob, appreciate that. Thank you guys. Awesome Paul said Evan has some weird hobbies and I have known some eccentric guys. Ryan, hey, congrats again, buddy. That's 2 awesome pickups. Welcome. Welcome to the hobby. It's all downhill from there. But all right, man. We are gonna looch our way on out of here, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.